The acrid smell of ozone filled the air as Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen's eyes widened in shock. The vast alien arena, a dizzying expanse of shimmering metal and pulsating light, suddenly felt suffocating. Her squad mate, Private Rodriguez, writhed in agony at the center of a crackling energy field, his body twisting in ways that defied human anatomy. "Rodriguez!" Chen screamed, her voice barely audible over the low hum that permeated the arena. She instinctively reached for her weapon, only to find an empty holster. They'd been stripped of all gear upon entering this nightmarish place. Time seemed to slow as Chen's mind raced. This was supposed to be a diplomatic mission, a chance for humanity to prove its worth to the Zar'konian Empire. How had it devolved into this cruel spectacle? The other members of her squad stood frozen, their faces masks of horror and confusion. Chen knew she had mere seconds to act before Rodriguez was torn apart by the alien energy. "Hold the line," she barked, falling back on years of training. "Nobody move." As she inched closer to the energy field, Chen's mind whirled with questions. What was this test? Why were humans being subjected to it? And most pressingly, how could she save Rodriguez without dooming them all? The staff sergeant's eyes darted around the arena, searching for any clue, any weakness in the alien technology. That's when she noticed a pattern in the energy field's fluctuations, a rhythm that seemed almost familiar. With a jolt, Chen realized it mimicked the cadence of human breathing. Could it be that simple? Or was it a trap designed to lure her in? As Rodriguez's screams reached a fever pitch, Chen made her decision. She took a deep breath, steeled herself, and stepped into the crackling energy field. The pain was immediate and all-encompassing, but Chen forced herself to focus. She matched her breathing to the rhythm of the field, feeling it pulse through her body. Slowly, agonizingly, she reached out towards Rodriguez. "Match my breathing," she gasped through gritted teeth. As their hands connected, the energy field intensified. Chen felt as if her very atoms were being torn apart and reassembled. But she held on, her iron will the only thing keeping them both from disintegrating. Suddenly, the field vanished. Chen and Rodriguez collapsed to the ground, panting and disoriented. As Chen's vision cleared, she saw towering figures entering the arena. The Zar'konians had arrived to deliver their judgment. One of the aliens stepped forward, its multifaceted eyes gleaming with an unreadable emotion. "Impossible," it intoned in a voice that seemed to bypass Chen's ears and resonate directly in her mind. "You have passed the first test." As Chen struggled to her feet, supporting the barely conscious Rodriguez, she realized with a mix of dread and determination that this was only the beginning. Whatever trials lay ahead, she and her squad would face them together, and they would not fail. The Zar'konian's words echoed in her mind. Impossible. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. They had no idea what humans were capable of. 2 weeks earlier, Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen stood at rigid attention in General Hawthorne's office, her crisp uniform a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in her mind. The general's weathered face bore the weight of countless battles, but Chen had never seen him look this grave. "At ease, Staff Sergeant," Hawthorne said, his voice low. "What I'm about to tell you is classified beyond top secret. The fate of humanity may well rest on your shoulders." Chen's heart raced, but her face remained impassive. "I understand, sir." Hawthorne activated a holographic display, revealing a star system Chen didn't recognize. 3 days ago, we received this transmission from the Zar'konian Empire." He pressed a button, and an alien voice filled the room, speaking in perfect, unsettling English. "Humans of Earth, your species stands at a crossroads. You have been deemed a potential threat to galactic stability. However, we offer you a chance to prove your worth. Send us your finest warriors. If they can pass our trials, we will welcome humanity into the galactic community. Fail, and Earth will be quarantined for the next millennium." The message ended, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Chen's mind reeled with the implications: aliens, trials, the fate of Earth hanging in the balance. "Your team has been chosen, Staff Sergeant," Hawthorne continued. You leave for the Zar'konian homeworld in 48 hours. This mission is strictly voluntary, but—" "I'm in, sir," Chen interrupted, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her gut. "My team will be ready." Hawthorne nodded, a flicker of pride in his eyes. "I expected nothing less. Dismissed, Staff Sergeant, and good luck." As Chen left the office, her mind raced with a monumental task ahead. How could she prepare her team for trials designed by an alien civilization? What horrors awaited them in the depths of space? Present day. The memory faded as Chen helped Rodriguez to his feet, the alien arena coming back into sharp focus. The Zar'konian who had spoken earlier towered over them, its iridescent exoskeleton shifting colors in a hypnotic pattern. "You have demonstrated resourcefulness and empathy," the alien intoned. "Traits we did not expect from a species so young." Chen straightened, ignoring the lingering pain from the energy field. "We're full of surprises," she said, her voice hoarse but defiant. The Zar'konian's multifaceted eyes seemed to bore into her soul. "Indeed. But this was merely the first of many trials. Are you prepared to continue, knowing that failure means the isolation of your entire species?" Chen looked around at her team. Rodriguez, still shaky but standing tall. Corporal Zhang, her eyes blazing with determination. Private Alcoy, fingers twitching as if longing for a weapon. And Lieutenant Reeves, nodding almost imperceptibly, trusting Chen's judgment. "We're ready," Chen declared, turning back to the Zar'konian. "What's next?" The alien made a sound that might have been a chuckle. "Eager, aren't you? Very well. The next trial will test not just your physical and mental capabilities, but the very essence of what makes you human." With a gesture, the arena began to transform. The metallic floor rippled like water, forming intricate patterns and structures. Chen and her team found themselves standing on a narrow bridge, surrounded by a dizzying array of floating platforms and obstacles. "Navigate the labyrinth of echoes," the Zar'konian instructed. "But be warned, what you hear may not be real, and what is real may not be what you hear. Trust in each other, and you may yet survive." As the alien retreated, an eerie mist began to fill the arena. Chen could barely make out her team members standing next to her. "Stay close," she ordered, her voice barely above a whisper. "Whatever happens, we stick together." As they took their first tentative steps onto the bridge, Chen heard a familiar voice calling out in distress. It sounded like Rodriguez, but when she turned, he was right beside her, looking equally confused. The labyrinth of echoes was living up to its name, playing tricks on their senses. Chen gritted her teeth, knowing that this test would push them to their limits and beyond. As they ventured deeper into the mist, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched not just by the Zar'konians, but by something far more ancient and inscrutable. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and the true nature of these trials remained a mystery. One thing was certain: they were in uncharted territory, facing challenges no human had ever encountered. But as Chen led her team forward, she felt a fierce determination burning within her. They would pass these impossible tests, no matter the cost. The alternative was unthinkable. The mist swirled around them, filled with whispers and shadows. The next trial had begun, and there was no turning back. As Chen and her squad ventured deeper into the labyrinth of echoes, the mist thickened, obscuring their vision and distorting their senses. The narrow bridge beneath their feet seemed to shift and warp, making each step a precarious gamble. "Watch your footing," Chen warned, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of whispers that filled the air. Private Alcoy, bringing up the rear, suddenly stumbled. I can't do this," he gasped, his usual bravado crumbling. "The voices, they're telling me to jump." Chen turned, her heart racing. She'd seen Alcoy face down enemy fire without flinching, but now he looked like a scared child, his eyes wide with terror. "Focus on my voice, Alcoy," she commanded, reaching out to steady him. "The whispers aren't real. We are." As she helped Alcoy regain his composure, Chen's mind flashed back to the tense days leading up to their departure from Earth. The cracks in her team's unity had begun to show even then, threatening to derail their mission before it began. 2 weeks earlier, the briefing room was thick with tension as Chen laid out the details of their unprecedented mission. Her squad sat in stunned silence, trying to process the magnitude of what they were about to undertake. Lieutenant Reeves was the first to speak up. "With all due respect, Staff Sergeant, this is insane. We're Marines, not some intergalactic test subjects. How can we possibly prepare for trials designed by an alien civilization?" Chen met Reeves' gaze steadily. "We prepare the same way we always do, Lieutenant. We train, we adapt, and we overcome." But Reeves wasn't satisfied. "And what if we fail? The entire human race gets quarantined because we couldn't jump through the right hoops." "That's enough, Reeves," Chen snapped, her patience wearing thin. "We've been chosen for this mission, and we're going to see it through." As the meeting broke up, Chen noticed the worried glances exchanged between her squad members. She knew she had to address their fears head-on if they were going to have any chance of success. Over the next few days, Chen spoke with each team member individually, trying to assuage their concerns and bolster their resolve. Corporal Zhang confided her fear of the unknown. "What if we encounter something out there that we can't even comprehend, let alone overcome?" Chen placed a reassuring hand on Zhang's shoulder. "That's why we're a team, Corporal. We'll face the unknown together." Private Rodriguez struggled with leaving his family behind. "My daughter's birthday is next month," he said, his voice cracking. "What if I never see her again?" "Think of why we're doing this, Rodriguez," Chen urged. "We're fighting for her future, for all of humanity's future." But it was Private Okoye who worried Chen the most. The usually boisterous soldier had grown uncharacteristically quiet, his cocky grin replaced by a haunted look. "I'm not afraid of dying," Okoye confessed when Chen finally cornered him. "I'm afraid of failing. What if I'm not good enough? What if I let everyone down?" Chen recognized the self-doubt that plagued many soldiers, herself included. "None of us knows if we're good enough," she admitted. "But I believe in this team. We'll face whatever comes together." As the days counted down to their departure, Chen worked tirelessly to forge her disparate squad into a cohesive unit. They trained in simulations designed to push the limits of human endurance and problem-solving, but Chen knew that no earthly preparation could truly ready them for what lay ahead. The night before they were set to leave, Chen found Lieutenant Reeves alone in the gym, pummeling a punching bag with barely contained fury. "Something you want to say, Lieutenant?" Chen asked, her voice cutting through the rhythmic thuds. Reeves stopped, breathing heavily. "Why us, Staff Sergeant? Out of all the soldiers on Earth, why were we chosen for this suicide mission?" Chen had been asking herself the same question. "Maybe because we're not just soldiers," she said slowly. "We're explorers, problem solvers. We represent the best of what humanity can be." Reeves laughed bitterly. "No pressure, right? All we can do is our best," Chen replied, "and hope it's enough." Present day. As the memory faded, Chen realized that Okoye had regained his composure. The team was moving forward again, navigating the treacherous path through the labyrinth of echoes. "Stay alert," Chen warned. "Whatever you hear, whatever you see, remember that we're in this together." As if in response to her words, a chilling scream cut through the mist. It sounded like Zhang, but Chen could see the corporal right in front of her, unharmed. "It's not real," Chen reminded her team, even as doubt gnawed at her. "Keep moving." They pressed on, each step a battle against their own fears and the insidious whispers that filled the air. Chen knew that the real test wasn't just navigating this alien maze, but holding on to their humanity in the face of the impossible. As they ventured deeper into the unknown, Chen silently renewed her vow. She would lead her team through this crucible, no matter the cost. The fate of humanity depended on it. The mist swirled around them, filled with new horrors and challenges. But for now, they were together, and they were moving forward. It would have to be enough. As the team navigated the treacherous labyrinth of echoes, Chen's mind drifted back to their journey to the Zar'konian homeworld. The revelation that had shaken her to her core still echoed in her thoughts, coloring every aspect of their mission. 3 days into their interstellar voyage, Chen floated in the zero-gravity observation deck of the Zar'konian transport ship, her eyes fixed on the mesmerizing swirl of colors outside. The alien method of faster-than-light travel bent space and time in ways that defied human comprehension. A soft chime announced the arrival of Caxlith, their Zar'konian liaison. The tall, insectoid alien glided into the room with an otherworldly grace. "Staff Sergeant Chen," Caxlith's telepathic voice resonated in her mind. "I trust your team is adapting well to space travel." Chen nodded, suppressing a shudder at the alien's method of communication. "As well as can be expected, though I must admit, we're still in the dark about a lot of things." Caxlith's compound eyes shimmered. "Curiosity, a trait your species possesses in abundance. It is both your greatest strength and your most dangerous weakness." "What do you mean?" Chen asked, her interest piqued. The alien was silent for a moment, as if weighing a decision. "Perhaps it is time you understood more about your place in the galaxy. Follow me." Intrigued and slightly wary, Chen followed Caxlith to a secured area of the ship. The room they entered was dominated by a massive holographic display of the Milky Way. "Behold, Staff Sergeant," Caxlith said, manipulating the display with graceful gestures. "The true scope of galactic civilization." Chen's jaw dropped as countless points of light illuminated across the galaxy map. Each point represented a spacefaring civilization, forming intricate networks of alliances, trade routes, and spheres of influence. "But this is impossible," Chen stammered. "We've been searching the stars for signs of intelligent life for decades. How could we have missed all of this?" Caxlith's mental voice took on a somber tone. "You did not miss it, Staff Sergeant. It was hidden from you." The implications of those words hit Chen like a physical blow. "Hidden? By whom? Why?" "By the Galactic Council," Caxlith explained. "Earth exists in what we call a silent sector, a region of space deliberately kept isolated from the wider galactic community." Chen's mind reeled. Everything she thought she knew about humanity's place in the universe was crumbling. "But why? What have we done to deserve isolation?" "It is not a punishment," Caxlith assured her. "It is protection, both for young species like yours and for the established galactic order." The alien manipulated the display again, zooming in on Earth's solar system. A faint bubble encompassed the entire system. "This barrier has shielded Earth from detection and interference for millennia," Caxlith continued. "It allows young civilizations to develop naturally, without the shock of premature contact with advanced alien species." Chen's tactical mind quickly grasped the implications. "So when we finally achieved faster-than-light travel—" "You breached the barrier," Caxlith finished, "alerting the Galactic Council to your readiness for potential first contact." A cold realization settled in Chen's gut. "These trials, they're not just tests. They're an evaluation to see if we're ready to join galactic society." Caxlith's mental voice carried a note of approval. "Perceptive, Staff Sergeant. The Zar'konian Empire argued for giving humanity a chance to prove itself worthy of joining the galactic community. Others advocated for more permanent measures to contain the potential threat you represent." Chen's fists clenched at her sides. "Threat? We're explorers, not conquerors." "History has shown that the line between the two can be thin," Caxlith replied, "especially for species as adaptable and ambitious as yours." As Chen absorbed this earth-shattering information, her perspective on their mission shifted dramatically. They weren't just fighting for humanity's right to explore the stars. They were fighting for their very existence in a galaxy that viewed them with suspicion and fear. "Does my team know about this?" Chen asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Caxlith's antennae twitched. "No. As mission leader, you alone were deemed ready for this knowledge. What you choose to share with your team is at your discretion." Chen nodded, the weight of this new responsibility settling heavily on her shoulders. She knew this information could either galvanize her team or shatter their resolve. The decision on how to use it would be crucial. "Thank you for trusting me with this, Caxleth," Chen said finally. "I won't let you down." The alien's mental voice carried a mix of hope and warning. "For the sake of both our species, Staff Sergeant, I hope you are correct." Present day. As the memory faded, Chen refocused on the challenges of the labyrinth of echoes. The knowledge she carried gave new urgency to their mission. Every test they faced wasn't just about proving their worth. It was about securing humanity's place in a vast and complex galactic society. "Stay sharp, team," Chen called out, her voice cutting through the disorienting mist. "Remember what we're fighting for." Her squad responded with renewed determination, unaware of the true stakes of their mission. Chen knew she would have to find the right moment to share what she had learned, to help them understand the monumental importance of their success. As they pressed deeper into the alien maze, Chen's resolve hardened. They would pass these trials, not just for Earth, but for humanity's rightful place among the stars. The galaxy may see them as a potential threat, but Chen was determined to prove that humans could be valuable allies in the cosmic tapestry of civilizations. The path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but for the first time since their mission began, Chen felt a glimmer of hope. They had a chance to shape humanity's destiny, and she would not let that opportunity slip away. The labyrinth of echoes faded away, its mist dissipating to reveal a stark, metallic chamber. Chen and her team stood disoriented, their senses reeling from the abrupt transition. Before they could gather their bearings, a harsh light flooded the room, and a booming voice filled their minds. "Preliminary trials complete. Proceed to primary assessment arena." Chen exchanged glances with her squad, noting the mixture of relief and apprehension on their faces. They had survived the labyrinth, but what fresh horrors awaited them? As if in answer to their unspoken question, a section of the wall slid open, revealing a vast, stadium-like structure. The squad moved cautiously into the open, their eyes struggling to adjust to the alien environment. Towering stands surrounded them, filled with various species of aliens, their curious and sometimes hostile gazes fixed on the human newcomers. At the center of the arena stood a group of imposing figures, the Zar'konian military elite. Their exoskeletons gleamed with a metallic sheen, adorned with intricate patterns that Chen assumed denoted rank and accomplishments. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The lead Zar'konian, a massive creature with scarlet markings, stepped forward. Its voice resonated directly in their minds, a disconcerting sensation that Chen and her team were still struggling to get used to. "Humans," the alien intoned, its mental voice dripping with disdain. "You stand before the Zar'konian High Command. Your performance in the preliminary trials was unexpected. Now we shall truly test your mettle." Before Chen could respond, the ground beneath them began to shift. Holographic projections sprang to life, creating a simulated battlefield that looked disturbingly like Earth, or rather, Earth under alien invasion. "Your mission," the Zar'konian commander continued, "is to repel our simulated invasion force. Show us how you would defend your world." Chen's tactical mind kicked into high gear. "Understood," she replied, trying to project confidence she didn't entirely feel. "What are the parameters of the exercise?" The alien's multifaceted eyes seemed to bore into her. "Parameters? There are no parameters, human. This is war. Adapt or perish." With that ominous declaration, the simulation sprang to life. The sky darkened with alien craft, while ground forces materialized around them. Chen and her team found themselves equipped with standard-issue marine gear, a small comfort in the face of overwhelming odds. "Defensive positions," Chen barked, falling back on years of training. "Rodriguez, Okoye, find high ground and provide cover fire. Zhang, you're with me on crowd control. Reeves, coordinate our defense and watch for flanking maneuvers." Her team sprang into action, but it quickly became apparent that they were woefully unprepared for the scale and ferocity of the Zar'konian assault. The alien weapons tore through their defenses with ease, while their own firearms seemed to have little effect on the invaders' advanced armor. "This is impossible," Reeves shouted over the din of battle. "We're outgunned, outmanned, and fighting on their terms." Chen gritted her teeth, ducking behind a crumbling wall as energy blasts sizzled overhead. "Keep it together, Lieutenant. We adapt, we overcome." But as the minutes ticked by, their situation grew increasingly desperate. Aokoi took a hit to the leg, his agonized cry cutting through the chaos. Zhang was pinned down by relentless fire, unable to reach her fallen comrade. Chen's mind raced, searching for a solution. Their conventional tactics were failing miserably against this advanced force. They needed to think outside the box, to do something the Zar'konians wouldn't expect. That's when it hit her. They were fighting like humans defending against humans. But this wasn't a human invasion. "Fall back to the central structure," Chen ordered, her voice cutting through the team's comm channel. "Reeves, I need you to rig every explosive we have. Rodriguez, find me the weakest points in their formation." As her team regrouped, Chen outlined her desperate plan. Instead of trying to match the Zar'konians' superior firepower, they would use the aliens' own tactics against them. By collapsing key structures and creating choke points, they could funnel the invasion force into killing zones. It was a risky strategy, one that went against standard military doctrine. But as Chen looked into the eyes of her battered and demoralized squad, she knew they had no other choice. "This is our last stand," she told them, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We show them what humans are made of, or we die trying." With grim determination, the team put Chen's plan into action. They rigged buildings to collapse, created improvised traps, and used the urban terrain to their advantage. Slowly, against all odds, they began to turn the tide. As the simulated battle reached its climax, Chen found herself face to face with a Zar'konian commander. The alien's eyes gleamed with an unreadable emotion as it raised its weapon. In that moment, time seemed to slow. Chen realized that this wasn't just about winning a battle. It was about proving that humanity could think creatively, adapt to impossible odds, and emerge stronger. With a primal yell, she charged the alien commander, embodying the indomitable spirit of her species. The simulation abruptly ended, leaving Chen and her team panting and disoriented in the now quiet arena. The Zar'konian High Command regarded them silently, their alien features impossible to read. Finally, the lead commander spoke. "Interesting," it said, its mental voice tinged with what might have been respect. "Perhaps there is more to your species than we initially believed." As Chen helped Aokoi to his feet, she surveyed her battered but unbroken team. They had survived the impossible, but at what cost? The doubt and fear in their eyes were plain to see. This trial had pushed them to their limits and beyond, leaving them questioning their purpose and abilities in this cosmic game. But as Chen met each of their gazes, she saw something else kindling beneath the exhaustion and pain of fierce determination. They had faced the impossible and lived to tell the tale. Whatever trials lay ahead, they would face them together. The Zar'konian commander's words echoed in Chen's mind. "Perhaps there is more to your species than we initially believed." She allowed herself a grim smile. They had no idea what humans were truly capable of. And neither, she realized, did her team. As they were led from the arena, Chen knew that the real challenge was just beginning. She would need to rally her squad, help them understand the true stakes of their mission, and prepare them for trials that would test not just their bodies and minds, but the very essence of what it meant to be human. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and failure was not an option. The squad trudged wearily into their assigned quarters, a sterile, pod-like room that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. Chen watched as her team collapsed onto their bunks, the weight of their recent ordeal evident in every movement. "Get some rest," she ordered, her voice softer than usual. "We don't know when the next test will begin." As if on cue, a shimmering hologram materialized in the center of the room. The Zar'konian commander's imposing figure loomed over them. "Humans," it intoned, "your next trial begins in one planetary rotation. Prepare yourselves for a challenge that will test the very limits of your minds." The hologram vanished, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Chen surveyed her team, noting the mix of exhaustion and apprehension on their faces. Her gaze lingered on Private Alex Thompson, the newest and youngest member of their squad. Thompson had been quiet throughout their ordeal, but there was something in his eyes that caught Chen's attention, a glimmer of anticipation? Before she could ponder this further, Lieutenant Reeves spoke up. "Staff Sergeant, with all due respect, how are we supposed to prepare for a mental challenge designed by an alien species? We're Marines, not psychics." Chen understood Reeves' frustration, but she couldn't afford to let doubt take root. "We prepare the same way we always do, Lieutenant. We use every tool at our disposal, including the ones between our ears." As the team settled in for a fitful rest, Chen couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. She made a mental note to speak with Thompson privately before the next trial. The planetary rotation passed all too quickly, and soon the squad found themselves in a vast, circular chamber. The walls were lined with what appeared to be organic computer terminals, pulsing with an eerie bioluminescence. The Zar'konian commander materialized before them. "Your challenge," it announced, "is to interface with our neural network and navigate the maze of infinite possibilities. You must find the correct path through the quantum probability field to unlock the secrets of interdimensional travel." Chen's mind reeled at the implications. This wasn't just a test of intelligence. It was a challenge that required a fundamental understanding of the universe that humanity had barely begun to grasp. As the team approached the alien terminals, Chen noticed Thompson's hands trembling with what she now recognized as barely contained excitement. "Thompson," she called out, "you've been awfully quiet. Any insights?" The young private swallowed hard, then met Chen's gaze. "Staff Sergeant, there's something I need to tell you. Something I've kept hidden my whole life." The rest of the squad turned to listen as Thompson continued, his voice gaining strength. I can see probabilities, quantum fluctuations. It's like a sixth sense. I've always been able to perceive patterns in chaos that others can't." Chen's mind raced with the implications. "Why didn't you tell us this before?" Thompson's eyes dropped. "Because the last time I revealed my ability, I was treated like a freak. Studied, prodded, isolated. I joined the Marines to escape that, to be normal." Chen placed a hand on Thompson's shoulder. "Private, your unique talent might be the key to our survival. Are you willing to use it?" Thompson nodded, a mix of relief and determination on his face. "Yes, Staff Sergeant, I'm ready." With newfound purpose, the team approached the alien terminals. As each member interfaced with the neural network, they were plunged into a dizzying landscape of quantum possibilities. Chen felt as if her consciousness was being stretched across multiple realities, each decision branching into infinite outcomes. But amidst the chaos, Thompson's voice rang out clear and confident. "I can see the path," he called. "Follow my lead." Guided by Thompson's uncanny ability to perceive quantum probabilities, the team began to navigate the mind-bending maze. Chen marveled at the young private's skill, watching as he instinctively chose the correct path at each junction. However, as they delved deeper into the quantum realm, Chen noticed Thompson's face contorting in pain. Beads of sweat formed on his brow, and his nose began to bleed. "Thompson, are you all right?" Chen asked, concern evident in her voice. I can handle it," Thompson gasped. "We're almost there. I can see the solution." With a final, Herculean effort, Thompson guided the team through the last set of quantum gates. As they emerged from the neural interface, a triumphant chime echoed through the chamber. The Zar'konian commander reappeared, its multifaceted eyes gleaming with what might have been approval. "Impossible," it declared. "You have unlocked secrets that have eluded far more advanced civilizations. How did you accomplish this?" Chen turned to Thompson, ready to commend him for his crucial role in their success. but the words died in her throat as she saw the young private collapse to the ground, his body racked with violent seizures. "Medic!" Chen shouted, rushing to Thompson's side. As she cradled his head, preventing him from injuring himself further, she saw a look of peace settle over his features. "I did it," Thompson whispered, his eyes unfocused. "I finally used my gift to help others." As the medical team rushed in, Chen felt a mix of triumph and guilt. They had passed the impossible test, but at what cost? Thompson's hidden talent had saved them, but the strain of interfacing with the alien technology had exacted a terrible price. As Thompson was carried away for treatment, Chen faced the Zar'konian commander. "We passed your test," she said, her voice tight with emotion. "But I need to know, will he recover?" The alien's response was cryptic. "The human mind is more resilient than we anticipated. His fate, like the fate of your species, remains uncertain." Chen watched as her team huddled around Thompson's unconscious form, their earlier doubts replaced by concern for their comrade. She realized that this trial had done more than test their mental abilities. It had forged them into a true unit, willing to sacrifice for one another. As they were led from the chamber, Chen's mind raced with the implications of what they had accomplished. They had unlocked secrets of interdimensional travel, a feat that could revolutionize humanity's place in the cosmos. But as she glanced back at Thompson's pale face, she wondered if the price of such knowledge might be too high. The next trial loomed on the horizon, and Chen knew they would face it with newfound strength and unity. But the question remained, how many more impossible tasks lay ahead, and what further sacrifices would be demanded of them? As the medical team tended to Thompson, Chen and her remaining squad members were ushered into a new chamber. The air hummed with an otherworldly energy, making the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. The Zar'konian commander's voice resonated in their minds. "Your next trial begins now. We will probe the depths of your psyches, testing not just your mental acuity, but the very foundations of your beings." Before anyone could respond, the room plunged into darkness. Chen felt a sudden, disorienting sensation, as if her consciousness was being pulled from her body. When her vision cleared, she found herself in a vast, ethereal space, surrounded by swirling nebulae and distant stars. "Squad, sound off," Chen called out, her voice echoing strangely in the cosmic void. One by one, her team responded, their disembodied voices floating around her. All except one. "Lieutenant Frost," Chen called, a note of concern in her voice. "Emma, do you copy?" Silence. Suddenly, a scream tore through the psychic landscape, filled with such anguish that it made Chen's non-existent skin crawl. She recognized the voice immediately. "Emma," Chen shouted, "where are you?" The cosmic scenery shifted, coalescing into a grim tableau. Chen found herself standing in what appeared to be a war-torn village. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning flesh. And there, in the center of the devastation, stood Lieutenant Emma Frost, her eyes wide with horror. "No," Emma whispered, her voice breaking. "Not this. Anything but this." Chen approached cautiously, noting the way Emma's form flickered and distorted, as if she was struggling to maintain her presence in this mental realm. "Lieutenant, talk to me. What are we seeing?" Emma's gaze remained fixed on the scene before them. "It's Sector 9, she said, her voice hollow. "The mission that I've tried so hard to forget." As Chen watched, the scene came to life around them. She saw a younger version of Emma, leading a small team through the village. They were tense, weapons at the ready. "It was supposed to be a simple recon mission," Emma explained, her words tumbling out in a rush. "But our intel was wrong. So wrong." The sound of gunfire erupted, and Chen saw Emma's team scrambling for cover. But they weren't firing at enemy combatants. To her horror, Chen realized they were shooting at civilians, men, women, and children fleeing in terror. "Stop!" the younger Emma shouted in the vision. "Cease fire, they're not hostiles." But it was too late. The damage was done. Bodies littered the ground, and the air was filled with screams and the wails of the wounded. Chen turned to the present-day Emma, seeing the anguish and guilt etched on her face. "Emma, this wasn't your fault. You tried to stop it." Emma shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "You don't understand. The intel. It was my responsibility. I missed something crucial, and innocent people paid the price." The scene shifted again, showing Emma in a military tribunal, stripped of her rank and facing discharge. Chen watched as Emma pleaded her case, taking full responsibility for the mission's failure and begging for a chance to make amends. "They gave me one last chance," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Assign me to your squad. But I've carried this guilt every day since." Chen felt a wave of compassion for her lieutenant, understanding now the weight she had been carrying all this time. But before she could offer any words of comfort, the psychic landscape began to fracture. Dark tendrils of energy snaked through the air, wrapping around Emma's form. She cried out in pain, her body contorting as if being torn apart from the inside. "Emma!" Chen shouted, reaching out to her. But her hand passed right through Emma's form. The Zar'konian commander's voice boomed around them. "The human mind is fragile, easily broken by the weight of its own memories. How can you hope to face the challenges of the cosmos when you cannot even face your own past?" Chen realized with a jolt that this was more than just a replay of Emma's memories. The alien technology was using Emma's guilt and trauma against her, threatening to shatter her psyche completely. "Squad, converge on my position," Chen ordered, hoping that their combined mental strength could somehow anchor Emma in this psychic storm. One by one, the other team members materialized around them. They formed a circle around Emma, who was now curled into a fetal position, the dark energy pulsing around her. "Emma, listen to me," Chen said, her voice firm but compassionate. "What happened in Sector 9 was a tragedy, but it doesn't define you. You've spent every day since then working to be better, to protect others. That's the Emma Frost I know." Rodriguez chimed in, his usual joviality replaced by earnest sincerity. "Lieutenant, you've saved our asses more times than I can count. Whatever happened in the past, you've more than made up for it." One by one, the other squad members added their voices, sharing memories of Emma's bravery, leadership, and compassion. As they spoke, Chen noticed the dark tendrils beginning to recede. Emma's eyes fluttered open, focusing on her team surrounding her. I don't deserve your forgiveness," she said, her voice weak but steady. "It's not about deserving, Lieutenant," Chen replied. "It's about moving forward. We need you. Earth needs you." With a collective effort, the squad reached out, both mentally and physically, to help Emma to her feet. As she stood, the last of the dark energy dissipated, and the psychic landscape began to stabilize. The Zar'konian commander's voice returned, tinged with what might have been surprise. "Unexpected. You have demonstrated a capacity for collective healing and support that we did not anticipate." As the psychic realm faded away, Chen and her team found themselves back in the physical chamber. Emma swayed on her feet, exhausted but standing tall. Chen met Emma's gaze, seeing a new resolve there. "Are you with us, Lieutenant?" Emma nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "All the way, Staff Sergeant. Whatever comes next, we face it together." As they were led from the chamber, Chen felt a mix of pride and apprehension. They had overcome another seemingly impossible challenge, but at great personal cost. Emma's dark secret was now in the open, and Chen knew it would take time for the lieutenant to fully come to terms with her past. But as she looked at her squad, Chen saw not judgment, but understanding and support. They had been forged into something stronger through this trial, their bonds deepened by shared vulnerability and collective strength. Whatever impossible tests lay ahead, Chen knew they would face them as a true team, each member's strengths compensating for another's weaknesses. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and they were Earth's best hope. The next challenge loomed on the horizon, and Chen steeled herself for whatever mind-bending, soul-crushing trial the Zar'konians had in store. But for now, she allowed herself a moment of quiet pride in her team's resilience and unity. They were ready for whatever came next. They had to be. The squad had barely caught their breath when the chamber's walls began to shift and reconfigure. The metallic surfaces rippled like liquid, coalescing into a vast, dome-shaped room. At its center stood an imposing structure, a towering monolith covered in intricate, alien glyphs that seemed to pulse with an inner light. The Zar'konian commander's voice resonated in their minds once more. Behold the cipher of Axiom, a puzzle that has confounded the greatest intellects across 1,000 worlds. Decode its secrets, and you will prove your species' worth beyond doubt. Chen surveyed her team, noting their mix of exhaustion and determination. Thompson was still recovering in the medical bay, and Emma looked drained from her psychic ordeal. But there was a newfound resolve in their eyes, a unity forged through shared trials. "All right, people," Chen said, her voice steady. "Let's approach this methodically. Rodriguez, Okoye, start documenting every symbol you see. Frost, I want you to." "Wait," interrupted Corporal David Chen, speaking up for the first time since they'd arrived on the alien world. I think I might see something here." Chen turned to her namesake, surprised. David had always been the quiet one, more comfortable following orders than taking initiative. But now, his eyes were alight with a spark of recognition as he approached the monolith. "These symbols," David murmured, his fingers tracing the air just above the glyphs. "They remind me of something." Chen moved closer, intrigued. "What do you see, Corporal?" David's brow furrowed in concentration. "It's like the I Ching, but infinitely more complex. See how the lines flow and interconnect? It's not just a static image, it's a dynamic system." Chen felt a glimmer of hope. David's background in Eastern philosophy had always seemed at odds with his role as a Marine, but now it might prove to be their salvation. "Explain it to us, David," Chen encouraged. "Walk us through your thought process." As David began to elaborate, the rest of the squad gathered around. He spoke of Taoist principles of balance and flow, of the interplay between yin and yang, and how these concepts seemed to be mirrored in the alien glyphs. "It's not just about decoding individual symbols," David explained, his confidence growing. "It's about understanding the relationships between them, the way they influence and transform each other." Emma, her earlier trauma temporarily forgotten, chimed in. "Like a cosmic dance of creation and destruction." David nodded enthusiastically. "Exactly, and look here," he pointed to a series of interlocking glyphs near the base of the monolith. "This reminds me of the concept of wu-wei action through non-action. It's as if the puzzle is solving itself if we just learn to perceive it correctly." As David continued to unravel the puzzle's logic, Chen noticed the Zar'konian observers shifting restlessly. She could sense their surprise and growing respect. Hours passed as the team worked together, guided by David's insights. They manipulated the glyphs, rearranging them according to principles of balance and harmony. Slowly, patterns began to emerge, and the monolith started to hum with energy. Just when it seemed they were on the verge of a breakthrough, David hesitated. "There's something missing," he said, frustration evident in his voice. "We're close, but it's not quite." Chen placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've gotten us this far, Corporal. What does your intuition tell you?" David closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. When he opened them again, there was a look of clarity on his face. "It's about perspective," he said softly. "We've been approaching this as individuals, but the puzzle demands unity." Understanding dawned on Chen. "Squad, form a circle around the monolith. Join hands." As they linked together, Chen felt a surge of energy coursing through them. David began to guide them through a series of movements, almost like a dance, their collective actions mirroring the flow of the glyphs. Suddenly, the monolith erupted in a dazzling display of light and color. The glyphs rearranged themselves in a hypnotic pattern, and a holographic representation of the universe bloomed above them. The Zar'konian commander's voice cut through their awe. "Impossible," it intoned, a note of genuine astonishment in its mental voice. "You have unlocked the cipher of Axiom, revealing the underlying structure of reality itself." As the holographic universe swirled above them, Chen turned to David, seeing him in a new light. "Outstanding work, Corporal," she said, her voice filled with pride. David ducked his head, a mix of embarrassment and satisfaction on his face. "I just applied what I knew," he said modestly. "It was a team effort." The Zar'konian commander approached, its alien features unreadable. "Your species continues to surprise us," it said. "This puzzle was designed to test not just intelligence, but the ability to perceive the interconnectedness of all things, a concept your Corporal Chen seems to innately understand." Chen felt a swell of pride in her team, especially David. His quiet strength and unique perspective had proven invaluable, reminding her of the diverse backgrounds and skills each member brought to the squad. As they were led from the chamber, Chen pulled David aside. "Why didn't you ever mention your background in Eastern philosophy before?" she asked gently. David shrugged, a hint of old insecurity in his eyes. "I didn't think it was relevant to being a Marine. I was afraid it might make me seem soft." Chen shook her head, smiling. "David, what you did today was anything but soft. You showed us that true strength comes from understanding, not just force. Don't ever doubt your place on this team again." As they rejoined the others, Chen saw a new confidence in David's bearing. She realized that each trial was not just testing their abilities, but revealing hidden strengths within her squad. They were becoming more than just Marines. They were evolving into something the galaxy had never seen before. The next challenge awaited, and Chen knew it would push them to even greater limits. But as she looked at her team, Emma standing tall despite her recent ordeal, Rodriguez and Akoy flanking David with newfound respect, and the memory of Thompson's sacrifice fresh in their minds, she felt a surge of hope. Whatever impossible tasks lay ahead, they would face them together, drawing strength from their diversity and unity. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, but Chen believed, more than ever, that they were equal to the task. As they stepped into the next chamber, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy thought it was testing humanity, but in reality, humanity was redefining the very nature of the test. The team entered a vast, circular chamber, unlike anything they had encountered before. The walls shimmered with a liquid-like substance, constantly shifting and reforming. At the center stood a complex array of alien technology, pulsing with an otherworldly energy. The Zar'konian commander's voice echoed in their minds. "Your next trial will test your ability to operate advanced technology under extreme pressure. Failure will have significant consequences." Chen felt a chill run down her spine at the ominous tone. She turned to her squad, seeing the same mix of determination and apprehension on their faces. "All right, team," she said, her voice steady. "We've come this far. Whatever they throw at us, we face it together." As if on cue, the alien technology sprang to life. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing what appeared to be a massive space station orbiting a volatile star. The Zar'konian commander's voice returned. "Your mission is to stabilize the station's orbit and prevent a catastrophic collision with a star. You have one planetary rotation to succeed." Chen quickly assessed the situation. "Frost, take point on navigation. David, see if you can apply what you learned from the cipher to understand these systems. Rodriguez, you're our tech specialist, focus on power management." The team sprang into action, each member tackling their assigned tasks with practiced efficiency. Chen marveled at how smoothly they worked together, their earlier trials having forged them into a cohesive unit. Hours passed as they grappled with the alien technology, making steady progress. The station's orbit began to stabilize, and Chen allowed herself a glimmer of hope. But as they entered the final phase of the simulation, disaster struck. "Power fluctuation in Sector 7, Frost called out, her voice tense. Rodriguez's fingers flew over the alien controls. "I've got it," he said confidently, "rerouting power now." Chen saw a flash of concern cross David's face. "Wait, Michael," he started to say. "The systems are interconnected. If you—" But it was too late. Rodriguez had already executed the command. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, alarms blared across the holographic displays. "What's happening?" Chen demanded, watching as the station's orbit began to decay rapidly. David's face was grim. "The power reroute created a cascade failure. We're losing control of all systems." Rodriguez stared at the controls in horror, the magnitude of his mistake sinking in. I thought I could handle it," he stammered. "I didn't realize." Chen cut him off, her voice sharp but not unkind. "No time for that now. We need solutions, people." The team scrambled to contain the damage, but it seemed hopeless. The station was in freefall, plummeting towards the star's fiery surface. Chen's mind raced, searching for any possible way out of this disaster. That's when she remembered something from their earlier trials. "David," she called out, "you said the systems were interconnected, right? Like the cipher of Axiom." David's eyes widened in understanding. "Yes, if we could somehow synchronize our actions, create a harmonic resonance within the system." "Do it," Chen ordered. Everyone followed David's lead. What followed was a frantic dance of coordinated actions. David called out instructions, and the team responded in perfect unison. Their movements mirrored the flow of energy through the station systems, creating a complex pattern of inputs that seemed to defy logic. Rodriguez, determined to redeem himself, threw himself into the task with fierce concentration. His earlier mistake had taught him the importance of listening to his teammates, and now he followed David's guidance without hesitation. As the star loomed ever larger in their holographic view, Chen felt a shift in the energy around them. The alarms began to quiet, and the station's descent slowed. "It's working," Frost exclaimed, her eyes fixed on the navigation displays. "We're regaining control." With a final, coordinated effort, the team managed to stabilize the station's orbit. The holographic displays flickered and faded, leaving them standing in the alien chamber, panting and exhausted. The Zar'konian commander materialized before them, its alien features unreadable. "Impressive," it intoned. "You turned certain failure into success through collective action and adaptation. Few species have demonstrated such resilience." As the adrenaline of the moment faded, Rodriguez approached Chen, his head bowed. "Staff Sergeant, I'm sorry. My overconfidence nearly doomed us all." Chen placed a hand on his shoulder. "You made a mistake, Rodriguez. But more importantly, you learned from it. Your dedication to fixing the problem was crucial to our success." The rest of the team gathered around, offering words of support and encouragement. Chen watched with pride as Rodriguez straightened, bolstered by his squadmates' faith in him. "Thank you," Rodriguez said, his voice thick with emotion. "I won't let you down again." As they were led from the chamber, Chen reflected on the trial they had just endured. Rodriguez's error could have been catastrophic, but instead it had become a catalyst for growth. The team had rallied, turning a potential disaster into a demonstration of their collective strength. Chen realized that each challenge was not just testing their individual skills, but their ability to function as a unified whole. They were becoming something more than just a squad of Marines. They were evolving into a symbiotic unit, each member's strengths compensating for another's weaknesses. The Zar'konian tests were pushing them to their limits, forcing them to adapt and grow in ways they never could have imagined. And with each trial, they were proving not just their own worth, but the potential of humanity as a whole. As they entered the next chamber, Chen felt a renewed sense of purpose. Whatever impossible tasks lay ahead, she knew her team would face them together, stronger and more unified than ever before. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, but Chen believed, more than ever, that they were equal to the challenge. The galaxy might be testing humanity, but humanity was redefining the very nature of the test. With a nod to her squad, Chen stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. The journey was far from over, but they were no longer just participants in these trials. They were becoming the shapers of their own destiny. The team entered the next chamber, their senses on high alert. This room was different from the others, organic and alive. Bioluminescent vines snaked across the walls, pulsing with an eerie rhythm. The air was thick with a sweet, alien scent that made their heads swim. "Stay focused," Chen warned, noting the slightly dazed expressions on her squad's faces. "We don't know what kind of test this is." As if in response to her words, the floor beneath them began to shift. Translucent pods emerged, each containing a small, writhing creature. The aliens resembled a cross between an octopus and a fern, their tentacle-like fronds waving in distress. The Zar'konian commander's voice filled their minds. "These are synaptic symbionts, a rare and valuable species. Your task is to extract the neural fluid from these creatures. The most efficient extractor will be deemed successful." Chen felt her stomach turn at the implication. The creatures were clearly sentient, their movements speaking of fear and pain. "Staff Sergeant," Frost whispered, her face pale. "These beings, they're terrified. I can feel it." Chen nodded grimly. She could sense it too, an overwhelming wave of fear emanating from the pods. This wasn't just a test of skill, it was a test of their humanity. Rodriguez stepped forward, his earlier mistake still fresh in his mind. "We should just get it over with quickly," he suggested, reaching for one of the extraction tools that had appeared. "Wait," Chen said, her voice firm. She approached one of the pods, kneeling to get a better look at the creature inside. Its fronds pressed against the translucent surface, as if seeking contact. In that moment, Chen made a decision that would change the course of their trials. Instead of reaching for the extraction tool, she placed her hand gently on the pod. "It's okay," she said softly. "We're not going to hurt you." The creature's movements calmed slightly, its fronds mirroring the pattern of Chen's hand. She felt a faint tingle, as if the being was attempting to communicate. "Staff Sergeant," David said, his voice filled with wonder. I think it's trying to connect with you." Chen closed her eyes, focusing on the sensation. Suddenly, her mind was flooded with images and emotions, flashes of a vast, interconnected ecosystem, of symbiotic relationships between species, of a deep, cosmic harmony. When she opened her eyes, Chen saw her team watching her with a mix of concern and curiosity. "These creatures," she said, her voice filled with awe. "They're not just test subjects, they're teachers." Understanding dawned on the squad's faces. One by one, they approached the pods, mimicking Chen's gentle touch. As they connected with the synaptic symbionts, their expressions shifted from confusion to wonder. "It's incredible," Frost breathed. "They're showing us everything. The interconnectedness of all life, the balance of the universe." Rodriguez, his earlier bravado replaced by humility, nodded in agreement. "It's like they're offering us their knowledge freely. No extraction needed." As the team communed with the alien creatures, Chen noticed a shift in the chamber's atmosphere. The bioluminescent vines pulsed more vibrantly, and the air seemed to thrum with energy. Suddenly, the Zar'konian commander materialized before them, its alien features contorted in what Chen could only interpret as surprise. "You refuse to extract the neural fluid?" the commander asked, its mental voice tinged with confusion. Chen stood, facing the alien with newfound confidence. "We refuse to harm these beings," she stated firmly. "They've offered us something far more valuable than any fluid understanding." The commander was silent for a long moment, its multifaceted eyes studying each member of the squad in turn. Finally, it spoke. "In all our years of testing species across the galaxy, none have ever taken this approach. You chose compassion over efficiency, understanding over exploitation." Chen felt a surge of hope. Had they finally cracked the true nature of these tests? "Tell me," she said, meeting the commander's gaze. "Was this the real challenge all along? To see if we would choose connection over conquest?" The Zar'konian's mental voice carried a note of what might have been respect. "Your species continues to surprise us, Staff Sergeant Chen. Perhaps we have misjudged humanity's potential." As the commander spoke, the pods containing the synaptic symbionts began to recede into the floor. Chen felt a pang of loss as her connection with the creatures faded. but the knowledge they had shared remained. "You have passed this trial," the commander declared. "But be warned, the challenges that lie ahead will test not just your compassion, but your resolve to uphold it in the face of unimaginable adversity." As they were led from the chamber, Chen felt a profound shift in her understanding of their mission. These tests weren't just about proving humanity's worth. They were about defining what that worth truly meant. She turned to her squad, seeing the same realization reflected in their eyes. They had come here as soldiers, prepared to fight for humanity's place in the galaxy. But now, they were becoming ambassadors of a different kind, champions of compassion, understanding, and interconnectedness. "Well done, team," Chen said, her voice filled with pride. "I think we've just changed the rules of the game." As they stepped into the next chamber, Chen felt a renewed sense of purpose. Whatever impossible tasks lay ahead, they would face them not with force, but with empathy and wisdom. The fate of Earth still hung in the balance, but now they had a deeper understanding of what they were fighting for. The galaxy might be testing humanity, but humanity was teaching the galaxy something in return. And in that exchange, Chen saw the potential for a future brighter than any of them had dared to imagine. With a nod to her squad, Chen stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. The journey was far from over, but they were no longer just participants in these trials. They were becoming the architects of a new kind of galactic understanding. The squad entered a vast, holographic war room, its walls displaying a three-dimensional map of an alien star system. Chen immediately recognized it as a tactical simulation chamber, far more advanced than anything they had on Earth. The Zar'konian commander's voice resonated in their minds. "Your final tactical challenge awaits. You must defend this system against an overwhelming invasion force. Failure means the extinction of the indigenous species on these planets." Chen studied the holographic display, her heart sinking. The odds were astronomical. The invasion fleet outnumbered the defensive forces by at least 20 to 1, with superior technology and firepower. "This is impossible," Rodriguez muttered, voicing what they were all thinking. Chen's mind raced, analyzing and discarding strategies at lightning speed. Conventional tactics would be suicide. They needed something radically different. "All right, team," she said, her voice steady despite the pressure. "Let's approach this from a new angle. What have we learned about the Zar'konians' way of thinking?" Frost spoke up first. "They value efficiency and raw power, but they've also been surprised by our empathy and ability to connect." David nodded, adding, "And they seem to think in linear terms. Action and reaction, cause and effect." A spark of an idea began to form in Chen's mind. It was outrageous, possibly suicidal, but it just might work. "Okay, here's the plan," she said, her eyes gleaming with determination. "We're going to lose this battle." Her team stared at her in shock. "Staff Sergeant?" Rodriguez asked, confusion evident in his voice. "I don't understand." Chen smiled grimly. "We're going to lose the battle, but win the war. Here's how." Over the next hour, Chen outlined her strategy. Instead of trying to match the invasion force's firepower, they would focus on evacuation and strategic retreats. They would use the defenders' superior knowledge of the system to lead the invaders on a wild chase, scattering their forces. "But the key," Chen explained, her finger tracing a path through the holographic asteroids, "is to make them think they're winning. We'll leak false information, set up tempting targets, and all the while, we'll be seeding their fleet with a hidden surprise." As Chen's plan unfolded, her team's expressions shifted from doubt to cautious optimism. It was a strategy that no military tactician would ever consider a deliberate, orchestrated defeat that masked a deeper victory. The simulation began, and Chen's unorthodox approach immediately threw the invading force into confusion. Expecting a head-on confrontation, they found themselves chasing shadows, wasting resources on empty victories. "Rodriguez, trigger the bait in Sector 7, Chen ordered. "Frost, start the evacuation of the third planet. "David, how's our little surprise coming along?" David's fingers flew over the alien controls. Viral payload is at 60% saturation, Staff Sergeant. They have no idea it's spreading through their network. As the hours ticked by, Chen's strategy began to bear fruit. The invading force, drunk on easy victories, had overextended itself. Their communication network was thoroughly compromised, though they didn't know it yet. Now, Chen said, her voice tight with anticipation. Spring the trap. With a few keystrokes, David activated the viral payload. Across the holographic display, invasion ships began to power down, their systems hijacked and repurposed. Holy shit, Rodriguez breathed. It's working. They're fighting each other. Chen allowed herself a small smile. The invasion force, its communication systems corrupted, had turned on itself in confusion. What remained of the defensive fleet now faced a disorganized, fragmented enemy. Mop up operations, Chen ordered. Let's finish this. In a matter of hours, the seemingly invincible invasion force had been reduced to scattered, ineffective pockets of resistance. The star system was saved, its indigenous populations largely intact. As the simulation ended, Chen turned to face the Zar'konian observers. Their alien features were unreadable, but she could sense their astonishment. Impossible, the commander's mental voice echoed. You turned certain defeat into victory through deliberate loss. Chen stood tall, meeting the alien's gaze. Sometimes, to win, you have to be willing to lose. Humanity's strength isn't in our firepower or our technology. It's in our ability to think beyond conventional boundaries, to find connection and opportunity where others see only conflict. The chamber fell silent as the Zar'konians conferred among themselves. Chen's team gathered around her, their faces a mix of awe and pride. Staff Sergeant, Frost said quietly. I've never seen anything like it. Chen nodded, feeling the weight of what they had accomplished. We've shown them something new today, a different way of approaching problems, of valuing life over victory. The Zar'konian commander approached, its mental voice carrying a new tone, one of respect. Your species continues to defy our expectations, Staff Sergeant Chen. This trial was designed to be unwinnable, to test your reaction to inevitable defeat. Instead, you have redefined the very nature of victory. As the team was led from the chamber, Chen felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had done more than pass a test. They had demonstrated humanity's unique potential to the galaxy. Well done, everyone, she said, looking at each member of her squad. Whatever comes next, we face it together, with open minds and compassionate hearts. The next challenge awaited, but Chen knew they were ready. They had proven that humanity's greatest strength lay not in domination, but in innovation, empathy, and the ability to find hope in the darkest of situations. As they stepped into the unknown once more, Chen allowed herself a moment of optimism. Perhaps, just perhaps, they were on the verge of securing not just Earth's survival, but its place as a vital, unique voice in the galactic community. The squad entered a stark, white chamber, devoid of any features save for a single, pulsating orb at its center. The air crackled with an otherworldly energy that set their nerves on edge. Your final test, the Zar'konian commander's voice resonated in their minds, is one of endurance. You must maintain physical contact with a sphere of resilience for as long as possible. Be warned, it will challenge you in ways you cannot imagine. Chen looked at her team, seeing determination mixed with apprehension on their faces. Thompson, she said, addressing the young private who had recently rejoined them after recovering from his earlier ordeal, are you sure you're up for this? Thompson nodded, his jaw set with resolve. I'm ready, Staff Sergeant. I won't let the team down again. One by one, they approached the orb, placing their hands on its smooth surface. The moment they made contact, Chen felt a jolt of energy course through her body. It wasn't painful, exactly, but intensely uncomfortable, like every nerve ending was being stimulated at once. Hours passed, and the discomfort grew. Chen watched her team closely, noting the strain on their faces. They had been through so much already, pushed to their physical and mental limits. How much more could they endure? It was Thompson who began to falter first. His face contorted in pain, and Chen saw tears forming in the corners of his eyes. "Stay with us, Thompson," she encouraged, her own voice tight with strain. "Focus on why we're here, what we're fighting for." But Thompson seemed to be slipping away, his eyes glazing over as if seeing something beyond the stark white room. Chen recognized the signs he was being pulled into some kind of vision or memory. "No," Thompson whispered, his voice small and frightened. "Not the water. Please, not again." Chen's heart clenched as she realized what was happening. Thompson was reliving a childhood trauma, something he had buried deep but never truly confronted. "Thompson," she called out, fighting through her own discomfort to reach him. "Whatever you're seeing, it's not real. You're here with us, you're safe." But Thompson was lost in his vision, his body trembling as he relived his worst nightmare. "I can't swim," he gasped. "The current's too strong. I'm going to drown." Chen made a split-second decision. Despite the Zar'konian's warning not to break contact with the orb, she reached out with her free hand and grasped Thompson's shoulder. The moment she touched him, Chen was pulled into Thompson's vision. She found herself in a raging river, the water dark and churning. A young Thompson thrashed in the current, panic clear on his face. Without hesitation, Chen swam towards him. "I've got you," she called out. "You're not alone, Thompson. We face this together." As she reached the struggling boy, Chen felt the rest of the squad's presence. Somehow, they had all been drawn into the shared vision. "Form a chain," Chen ordered, her voice carrying over the roar of the water. "We'll pull him to shore together." One by one, the team linked arms, creating a human lifeline. Rodriguez, the strongest swimmer, anchored them to the riverbank, while Frost reached out to Thompson. "Take my hand," Frost called, her voice firm and reassuring. "You can do this, Thompson. Trust us." For a moment, Thompson hesitated, the fear of his childhood trauma warring with his trust in his team. Then, with a surge of determination, he grasped Frost's hand. As they pulled Thompson to safety, Chen felt a shift in the energy around them. The river faded away, replaced by a warm, golden light. She sensed that they had done more than save Thompson from his past, they had unlocked something profound. The vision dissolved, and they found themselves back in the white chamber, still in contact with the sphere of resilience. But something had changed. The discomfort was gone, replaced by a sense of unity and strength unlike anything Chen had ever experienced. Thompson's eyes were clear now, filled with a new light of understanding and gratitude. "Thank you," he said, his voice steady. "I've carried that fear my whole life, but now I feel free." The Zar'konian commander's voice broke the moment, tinged with what could only be described as awe. "Impossible. You have not merely endured, you have transcended. Your ability to share consciousness, to heal collective trauma, it is unprecedented." As the commander spoke, Chen realized the true nature of their achievement. They hadn't just passed a test of endurance. They had demonstrated a level of empathy and collective resilience that defied the Zar'konians' understanding of human potential. "Your species continues to astonish us," the commander continued. "This capacity for shared experience, for healing each other's deepest wounds, it is a power we had not thought possible." As the team released their hold on the sphere of resilience, Chen felt a profound sense of change. They had entered this chamber as individuals pushed to their breaking points. They emerged as something more, a truly unified entity, capable of feats beyond any single human's abilities. "Well done, team," Chen said, her voice filled with pride and wonder. "We've shown them something extraordinary today." As they were led from the chamber, Chen knew that they had done more than pass another impossible test. They had unlocked a new level of human potential, one that could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. Thompson walked tall, the weight of his childhood trauma lifted. The rest of the squad moved with a new synchronicity, as if the boundaries between them had blurred. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Chen was certain of one thing: they would face them not as individuals, but as a single, unified force. They had discovered a power within themselves that no alien technology could match: the power of shared humanity. As they stepped into the unknown once more, Chen allowed herself to hope. Perhaps this was the key to securing Earth's future, not through force or cunning, but through the unique human capacity for empathy, healing, and collective growth. The journey was far from over, but they had taken a crucial step towards proving humanity's worth to the galaxy, and in doing so, they had discovered a strength within themselves that would change everything. The team entered a vast chamber that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Gravity shifted unpredictably, light bent in impossible ways, and the very fabric of space-time appeared to ripple around them. The Zar'konian commander's voice echoed in their minds. This is the nexus of impossibility, a place where the fundamental laws of the universe break down. Your task is to stabilize this pocket of chaos using only your understanding of physics. Failure will result in the collapse of this entire sector of space. Chen surveyed her team, noting the mix of awe and determination on their faces. They had come so far, overcome so much, but this challenge seemed to dwarf all others. "All right, people," Chen said, her voice steady despite the surreal environment. "Let's approach this methodically. What do we know about the fundamental forces of the universe?" David spoke up first, his eyes darting around the chamber as he analyzed the chaos. "We're dealing with the four fundamental interactions: gravity, electromagnetism, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force. But they're all out of balance here." Frost nodded, adding, "It's like the unified field theory gone haywire. Everything's interconnected, but in a way that's tearing reality apart." As the team discussed the problem, Chen noticed Thompson staring intently at a point in space where the distortions seemed most severe. Since overcoming his trauma in the previous trial, he had displayed a newfound intuition that bordered on the supernatural. "Thompson," Chen called out, "what do you see?" Thompson blinked, focusing on Chen. It's like a knot, Staff Sergeant. A tangle in the fabric of reality. If we could just unravel it somehow." Chen felt a spark of inspiration. "A knot. David, didn't you mention something about string theory during our training?" David's eyes lit up with understanding. "Yes, string theory posits that all matter and energy are composed of tiny, vibrating strings. If we could somehow harmonize those vibrations, we could untangle the knot," Rodriguez finished, catching on to the idea. Chen nodded, a plan forming in her mind. "All right, here's what we're going to do. David, I need you to calculate the resonant frequencies of this chamber. Frost, use your empathic abilities to sense the flow of energy. Rodriguez, you're on power management, will need precise control over our equipment." As the team sprang into action, Chen turned to Thompson. "I need you to be our guide. Your intuition might be the key to navigating this chaos." Thompson nodded, his eyes clear and focused. "I won't let you down, Staff Sergeant." For hours, the squad worked tirelessly, combining their scientific knowledge with their newfound abilities. David's calculations provided the framework, while Frost's empathic senses allowed them to fine-tune their approach. Rodriguez's jury rigged their equipment to emit precisely calibrated energy pulses, guided by Thompson's uncanny ability to sense the weak points in the chaotic field. Chen coordinated their efforts, her tactical mind finding patterns in the seemingly random fluctuations of the chamber. As they worked, she noticed the Zar'konian observers watching with increasing interest and what might have been confusion. "It's working," Frost exclaimed as the chaotic energies began to stabilize. "The field is responding to our harmonics." But just as they seemed on the verge of success, a new wave of distortions swept through the chamber. The team was thrown off balance, their carefully calibrated equipment sputtering. "We need more power," Rodriguez shouted, his hands flying over the controls. "We're losing coherence." Chen realized they were at a critical juncture. Their Earth-based understanding of physics had brought them this far, but it wasn't enough. They needed something more. That's when it hit her. Throughout their trials, they had demonstrated abilities that went beyond conventional science-shared consciousness. intuitive problem-solving, empathic resonance. What if these weren't just flukes, but a glimpse of humanity's true potential? "Everyone, listen to me," Chen called out, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to go beyond what we know. Remember how we connected in the sphere of resilience? We need to do that again, but this time with the universe itself." Her team looked at her with a mix of confusion and trust. Chen took a deep breath, centering herself. "Focus on the energy around us. Don't try to control it, become one with it. Let your consciousness expand to encompass the entire chamber." As the squad followed her lead, Chen felt a shift in the energy of the room. It was subtle at first, but grew stronger with each passing moment. She sensed her team's consciousness merging with her own, and beyond that, a connection to the very fabric of reality. Thompson gasped, his eyes wide. "I can see it," he whispered. "The strings, they're singing." Guided by their collective consciousness, the team began to manipulate the quantum strings that made up the chamber. It wasn't through technology or conventional physics, but through a deep, intuitive understanding of the universe's fundamental nature. The chaos in the chamber began to subside, replaced by a harmonious flow of energy. The impossible knots untangled themselves, reality reshaping itself into a stable configuration. As the last distortions faded away, the team found themselves standing in a perfectly ordinary room, the nexus of impossibility tamed by their unprecedented approach. The Zar'konian commander appeared before them, its alien features contorted in what Chen could only interpret as shock. This defies all known laws of physics," it said, its mental voice tinged with awe. "You have achieved what our greatest scientists deemed impossible." Chen stood tall, facing the alien observer. "We've learned that the impossible is just a limitation of our current understanding," she said. "Humanity's strength lies in our ability to push beyond those limitations, to find new ways of interacting with the universe." As the commander conferred with its fellow observers, Chen turned to her team. The pride and wonder on their faces mirrored her own feelings. They had done more than solve an impossible problem, they had redefined what was possible. "Well done, everyone," Chen said, her voice filled with emotion. "We've shown them something today that will change the course of scientific understanding across the galaxy." As they were led from the chamber, Chen felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had proven that humanity's approach to science, a blend of rigorous methodology and intuitive leaps, could unlock secrets that had eluded even the most advanced civilizations. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Chen knew they were ready. They had tapped into a power that went beyond technology or physical laws, the power of human consciousness, working in harmony with the universe itself. As they stepped into the unknown once more, Chen allowed herself to imagine the possibilities. If they could reshape reality in a pocket of chaos, what else might humanity achieve among the stars? The journey was far from over, but they had taken a giant leap towards securing Earth's place in the cosmic order. And in doing so, they had opened up a new frontier of human potential that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what was truly possible. As the squad was led from the nexus of impossibility, an air of tension permeated the alien facility. Chen noticed increased activity among the Zar'konian observers, their telepathic communications creating a buzz of mental static that set her nerves on edge. The team was ushered into a large, circular chamber that seemed to serve as a central hub. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing various alien species in heated discussions. Chen recognized some from their earlier encounters, but others were completely foreign. The Zar'konian commander approached, its multifaceted eyes reflecting a mix of emotions Chen couldn't quite decipher. "Your achievements have complicated matters," it said, its mental voice tinged with what might have been concern. "Complicated how?" Chen asked, her tactical mind already assessing potential threats. Before the commander could respond, one of the holographic displays expanded, revealing a reptilian alien species Chen hadn't seen before. Its voice, translated through some unseen technology, filled the chamber. "This is unprecedented," the alien declared, its scaled skin flushing with agitation. The humans have demonstrated abilities that violate the galactic accords. They must be contained immediately. Another alien, a ethereal, floating creature, chimed in. Containment? That's not enough. If they can manipulate reality itself, they pose an existential threat to the entire galaxy. More permanent measures must be considered. Chen felt her blood run cold at the implied threat. She glanced at her team, seeing the same realization dawning on their faces. Their success had inadvertently painted a target on humanity's back. The chamber erupted into a cacophony of alien voices, each species arguing for different courses of action. Some advocated for immediate quarantine of Earth, others for more drastic measures. The Zar'konian commander stood silent, seemingly overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events. Chen knew she had to act fast. The fate of Earth hung in the balance, and the goodwill they had built through their trials was evaporating rapidly. "Enough!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. To her surprise, the alien delegates fell silent, their attention focused on her. "We came here to prove humanity's worth," Chen continued, her voice steady and resolute. "To show that we deserve a place among the stars, and we've done that, time and time again. But if this is how the galactic community responds to new ideas and potential, then perhaps it's you who need to be reevaluated." A murmur ran through the alien delegates. Chen pressed on, sensing an opportunity to shift the narrative. "Yes, we've demonstrated abilities that you find threatening. But have you considered the possibilities? The advancements we could bring to the galaxy if we worked together?" Thompson stepped forward, his newfound confidence evident in his bearing. "We don't fully understand our abilities yet," he added, "but we're willing to learn, to share our discoveries with others." Frost joined in, her empathic abilities allowing her to sense the shifting emotions in the room. "We've shown compassion, adaptability, and a willingness to see beyond our own limitations. Aren't those qualities you'd want in a galactic neighbor?" The alien delegates conferred among themselves, their earlier hostility giving way to uncertainty. Chen could see the seeds of doubt taking root, but she knew they weren't out of danger yet. The reptilian alien spoke again, its voice less aggressive but still wary. "Pretty words, but how can we trust that you won't use these abilities against us? That you won't become conquerors once you've fully mastered your potential?" Chen was about to respond when David stepped forward, an idea gleaming in his eyes. "What if we could prove our intentions?" he said. "Not through words, but through actions." All eyes turned to David as he continued. "The nexus of impossibility, it's not just a test chamber, is it? It's a real problem you've been struggling with. A dangerous anomaly that threatens this sector of space." The Zar'konian commander nodded slowly. "Correct. We created the chamber to contain a small portion of the anomaly for study, but the full phenomenon has resisted all our efforts to neutralize it." David turned to Chen, his expression determined. "Staff Sergeant, I think we can solve this. For real this time, not just in a test scenario." Chen understood immediately. It was a risk, but also an opportunity to demonstrate humanity's value to the galactic community in a tangible way. "We're willing to help neutralize the full anomaly," Chen declared to the assembled aliens. "But in return, we ask for a fair hearing, a chance to show that humanity can be a valuable ally, not a threat." The chamber fell silent as the alien delegates considered the offer. Finally, the ethereal being that had earlier called for their destruction spoke. "It is an intriguing proposal, but be warned, humans, if you fail, or if we detect any hint of deception, the consequences will be severe." Chen nodded, accepting the terms. She turned to her team, seeing the same mix of determination and apprehension on their faces that she felt. "All right, squad," she said, her voice low. "We've faced impossible odds before, and we've come through. This time, we're not just fighting for ourselves or for Earth. We're fighting for humanity's future among the stars." As they were led towards the true nexus of impossibility, Chen felt the weight of their responsibility settle on her shoulders. They had inadvertently sparked a potential interspecies conflict, But now they had a chance to turn it into an opportunity for cooperation. The challenges ahead were daunting, but Chen believed in her team. They had evolved beyond what anyone human or alien had thought possible. Now it was time to prove that humanity's unique abilities could be a force for good in the galaxy. As they approached the swirling chaos of the full anomaly, Chen allowed herself a grim smile. They had changed the rules of the game once again. Now all they had to do was win it. The squad stood at the edge of the true nexus of impossibility, a swirling maelstrom of chaotic energy that dwarfed the test chamber they had encountered earlier. The very fabric of space-time seemed to warp and twist, creating a dizzying display of impossible geometries and shifting colors. As they prepared to face this ultimate challenge, the Zar'konian commander approached, its alien features grave. "Before you proceed," it said, its mental voice resonating with an uncharacteristic hesitation, "there is something you must know, the full truth of your situation." Chen felt a chill run down her spine. She glanced at her team, seeing the same mix of apprehension and determination on their faces. "We're listening," she said, bracing herself for whatever revelation was to come. The commander's multifaceted eyes seemed to bore into each of them in turn. "The trials you have faced, the tests you have overcome, they were more than a mere evaluation of humanity's worth. They were a preparation." "Preparation for what?" Frost asked, her empathic abilities sensing the gravity of the moment. The commander's next words fell like hammer blows. "For the salvation of the galaxy itself. The nexus of impossibility is not an isolated phenomenon. It is a symptom of a greater cosmic illness that threatens to unravel the very foundations of reality." The team stood in stunned silence as the commander continued. "For millennia, our greatest minds have sought a solution, to no avail. But your species, your unique blend of scientific understanding and intuitive leaps, your capacity for empathy and collective consciousness, you may be the key we have been searching for." David, his scientific mind racing, spoke up. "Are you saying that the fate of the entire galaxy rests on our ability to neutralize this anomaly?" The commander nodded solemnly. "More than that. If unchecked, the cosmic instability will spread beyond our galaxy, potentially threatening the entire universe. Your performance here will determine not just humanity's place among the stars, but the very future of existence itself." The weight of this revelation settled over the team like a physical force. Chen saw the shock and fear in her squad's eyes, but also a steely resolve beginning to form. Thompson, who had come so far from the traumatized young man he once was, stepped forward. "No pressure, right?" he said, a hint of his old humor returning. "Just the fate of all reality riding on us." Rodriguez nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Hey, we signed up to protect Earth. Might as well protect the whole damn universe while we're at it." Chen felt a surge of pride in her team. Even faced with this overwhelming responsibility, they were ready to face it head-on. But she needed to be sure they understood the full implications. "Listen up, squad," she said, her voice cutting through the tension. "What we're about to attempt goes beyond anything we've faced before. The risks are unimaginable. I need to know, are you all prepared to give everything, possibly including your lives, for this?" One by one, her team met her gaze, their responses coming without hesitation. "For Earth, for the galaxy, for all of existence?" "You bet, Staff Sergeant," Frost said, her voice steady. "Someone's got to do it." "Might as well be us," David added, a determined glint in his eye. "Like the commander said, we might be the only ones who can." "How could we not try?" Thompson chimed in. Rodriguez simply nodded, his usual bravado replaced by quiet determination. Chen turned back to the Zar'konian commander. "We're ready," she declared, "but I want your assurance. If we succeed, when we succeed, humanity will be granted full rights and protections within the galactic community. No more talk of quarantine or permanent measures. We will have earned our place among the stars." The commander was silent for a moment, its alien features unreadable. Finally, it nodded. "You have my word, and the word of the Galactic Council." Succeed in this task, and humanity will be welcomed as full partners in our cosmic civilization. With that assurance, Chen turned to face the roiling chaos of the Nexus. She took a deep breath, centering herself. All right, team. We've come too far to fail now. Remember everything we've learned, everything we've become. We're not just fighting for ourselves anymore. We're fighting for every sentient being in the universe. As they stepped towards the edge of the anomaly, Chen felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. They were about to attempt something no species had ever achieved, with stakes higher than they could have imagined. But as she looked at her team, at the trust and determination in their eyes, at the bond that had been forged through impossible trials, Chen felt a surge of hope. They had evolved beyond what anyone thought possible. They had unlocked potentials within themselves that defied explanation. Now it was time to put all of that to the ultimate test. As the chaotic energies of the Nexus began to swirl around them, Chen allowed herself one last thought before plunging into the unknown. Whatever happened next, they had already proven humanity's worth 100 times over. Now it was time to save the universe or die trying. With a nod to her squad, Chen took the final step. The Nexus of impossibility engulfed them, and the greatest challenge of their lives and perhaps the history of the universe began. As the squad plunged into the heart of the Nexus of impossibility, reality itself seemed to fracture around them. Colors shifted and blended in impossible ways, gravity fluctuated wildly, and the very concept of time became fluid and unreliable. Chen struggled to maintain her focus, drawing on every ounce of training and experience. "Stay together," she shouted, her voice distorting strangely in the chaotic environment. "Remember our connection." The team linked hands, forming a human chain as they had done in Thompson's vision. Immediately, Chen felt their collective consciousness begin to coalesce, creating a bubble of stability in the swirling madness. As they pushed deeper into the anomaly, Chen began to sense patterns in the chaos. Frost's empathic abilities allowed her to feel the flow of energy, while David's scientific mind worked to translate those sensations into actionable data. "There," Thompson called out, pointing to a spot where the distortions seemed most intense. "That's the nexus point. If we can stabilize it, the rest should fall into place." The squad moved as one towards the focal point, their shared consciousness allowing them to navigate the impossible terrain. As they approached, Chen felt a surge of hope. They were close, so close to saving not just Earth, but the entire universe. But as they reached out to touch the nexus point, a blinding flash of energy knocked them back. When Chen's vision cleared, she found herself and her team in a vast, empty space. Before them stood a being of pure energy, its form constantly shifting and changing. "Humans," the being's voice resonated in their minds. "You have come far, but the final test lies before you. To stabilize the nexus and save your universe, a sacrifice is required." Chen felt a chill run down her spine. "What kind of sacrifice?" she asked, though part of her already knew the answer. The energy being's form rippled. "One of you must give up your physical form, merging with the nexus to become its anchor. This being will exist for eternity, conscious, but unable to interact with the physical world. It is the only way to permanently stabilize the anomaly." A heavy silence fell over the squad as the implications sank in. They had come prepared to risk their lives, but this was something else entirely. An eternity of isolation, of watching the universe, but never being part of it. Chen's mind raced. They were so close to success, to saving everything. But could she ask one of her team to make such a monumental sacrifice? Could she make that sacrifice herself? As if reading her thoughts, Rodriguez stepped forward. "I'll do it," he said, his voice steady despite the fear in his eyes. "I'm the strongest. I can endure it." "No," Frost interjected. "My empathic abilities might help ease the loneliness. It should be me." One by one, each member of the squad volunteered, willing to give up everything for the greater good. Chen felt a surge of pride in her team, but also a deep, gnawing doubt. The energy being watched impassively. "You must decide quickly," it warned. The nexus grows more unstable with each passing moment. Chen closed her eyes, reaching out to the collective consciousness of her team. She felt their determination, their fear, their love for each other, and for the universe they were trying to save. And in that moment, she knew what they had to do. Opening her eyes, Chen faced the energy being. "No," she said firmly. "We refuse." Her team looked at her in shock. "Staff Sergeant?" David asked, confusion evident in his voice. Chen stood tall, her resolve unshakable. "We came here to save the universe, but not at the cost of everything that makes us human. Compassion, connection, the right to live and grow and change, these are the values we've been fighting for. If we sacrifice them now, what kind of universe are we really saving?" She turned to her team, seeing understanding dawn in their eyes. "We'll find another way," Chen continued. "One that doesn't require us to abandon our humanity. Because that's who we are, we're problem solvers, innovators. We don't accept no-win scenarios." The energy being's form flickered, and for a moment, Chen thought she saw something like approval in its ever-changing visage. "You would risk the destruction of everything to maintain your principles?" it asked. "We would risk everything to find a better solution," Chen corrected. "One that preserves life and consciousness, not sacrifices it. That's the essence of humanity. We strive, we adapt, we overcome. But we do it together, not by leaving someone behind." As Chen spoke, she felt a shift in the energy around them. The chaos of the nexus seemed to respond to their collective will, swirling and coalescing into new patterns. "Look," Thompson exclaimed, pointing to where the nexus point had been. The swirling energies were forming a new structure, a lattice of interconnected points that pulsed with stable, harmonious light. David's eyes widened in realization. "It's a network," he breathed, "like our collective consciousness, but on a cosmic scale. We're not anchoring the nexus with a single point, but with the connections between all points." As they watched in awe, the lattice expanded, encompassing the entire anomaly. The chaotic energies calmed, integrated into the new structure. The nexus of impossibility was transforming before their eyes into a nexus of harmony. The energy being's form began to fade, its voice growing distant. "You have succeeded in ways beyond our imagining," it said. "Your refusal to compromise your values, your insistence on finding a solution that preserves life and connection, this is the key we have been seeking for eons." As the being disappeared entirely, the squad found themselves back in the physical chamber, surrounded by astonished alien observers. The Zar'konian commander approached, its mental voice filled with awe. "You have done the impossible," it said, "not just in stabilizing the anomaly, but in showing us a new way of approaching cosmic challenges. Your humanity, which we once feared, may be the greatest gift the universe has ever received." Chen looked at her team, seeing the same mix of exhaustion, relief, and pride that she felt. They had faced the ultimate trial and emerged victorious, not by sacrificing their humanity, but by embracing it fully. As the implications of their success began to sink in, Chen allowed herself a small smile. They had secured humanity's place among the stars, not through force or cunning, but through compassion, innovation, and an unwavering commitment to their core values. The journey was far from over in many ways, it was just beginning. But as Chen and her squad stood tall before the assembled alien species, she knew that humanity was ready for whatever the universe had in store. They had proven themselves not just worthy of joining the galactic community, but essential to its future, and they had done it by being uncompromisingly, unmistakably human. The euphoria of their success in stabilizing the nexus was short-lived. As the squad caught their breath, the chamber around them began to shift and transform. The alien observers vanished, replaced by a harsh, unforgiving landscape that stretched as far as the eye could see. The Zar'konian commander's voice echoed in their minds one last time. "Your final challenge awaits. Traverse the gauntlet of endurance. Reach the summit of Mount Impossibility, and your trials will be complete." Before them loomed a mountain that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Its peak disappeared into swirling clouds, while the path to the top was a nightmarish obstacle course of ever-changing terrain and deadly hazards. Chen surveyed her team, noting their exhaustion from the previous trials. "This is it," she said, her voice firm. "Everything we've been through has led to this moment. Whatever happens, we face it together." As they began their ascent, the true nature of the challenge became apparent. The mountain actively resisted their progress, the terrain shifting beneath their feet, gravity fluctuating wildly, and the very air becoming thin and hostile. Rodriguez, always the physical powerhouse of the team, took point. His muscular frame strained against the increasing gravity, each step a battle of will. "Come on, you alien rock," he growled through gritted teeth. "You ain't got nothing on Earth's gravity, Jim." But even Rodriguez's immense strength had its limits. As they reached a sheer cliff face, his arms began to shake uncontrollably. Just as it seemed he would fall, Frost was there, her smaller frame somehow supporting his weight. "I've got you," she said, her empathic abilities allowing her to share his burden. "We climb together or not at all." David, his scientific mind working overtime, analyzed the shifting patterns of the mountain. "It's not random," he called out, dodging a sudden rock slide. "There's a logic to the changes, like a complex algorithm." Using his observations, David began to predict the mountain's transformations, guiding the team through seemingly impossible passages. But the constant mental exertion took its toll, and soon David was swaying on his feet, his brilliant mind pushed to its absolute limits. That's when Thompson stepped up, his newfound intuition complementing David's analytical approach. "Left," he would shout, or "wait," his instincts proving uncannily accurate in navigating the mountain's tricks. Chen, for her part, drove the team forward with unwavering determination. When toxic gases filled a narrow pass, she led them through on pure muscle memory, trusting her training and instincts when all senses failed. As they climbed higher, the challenges grew more intense. Gravity reversed suddenly, sending them tumbling towards the sky. Rodriguez anchored the team, his strength allowing them to cling to the mountain as they fought against the pull. "Don't you dare let go," Chen shouted, seeing the pain etched on Rodriguez's face as his muscles strained to their breaking point. "Not a chance," Rodriguez grunted, his iron grip holding firm until gravity normalized. The air grew thin, each breath a struggle. Frost, her empathic abilities stretched to their limit, created a bubble of shared consciousness that allowed the team to distribute their remaining oxygen evenly. "Breathe with me," she gasped, her face pale but determined. "In and out. Together." David's mind, pushed beyond normal human limits, began to perceive the mountain's code at a fundamental level. "It's not just physical," he muttered, his eyes unfocused. "It's a test of will, of spirit. The mountain responds to our determination." Understanding dawned on Chen. This wasn't just a physical challenge, it was a test of their collective will, of humanity's indomitable spirit. "Push through," she ordered, her voice hoarse but powerful. "Whatever pain you're feeling, whatever doubts you have used them, show this mountain what humans are made of." With renewed determination, the squad pressed on. Thompson, his intuition now operating on a level beyond conscious thought, guided them through reality-bending passages that seemed to fold space itself. "Don't think," he shouted, his eyes wild but focused. "Feel the path." As they neared the summit, the mountain unleashed its final, most brutal challenge. The peak itself began to crumble, the goal they had fought so hard to reach disintegrating before their eyes. For a moment, despair threatened to overwhelm them. They had come so far, endured so much, was it all for nothing? Chen looked at her team battered, exhausted, pushed beyond all human limits. But in their eyes, she saw not defeat, but an unquenchable fire. "We make our own summit," she declared, her voice carrying over the roar of the disintegrating mountain. As one, the squad reached out, not just physically, but with their collective will. They had reshaped reality in the nexus of impossibility. Why not here? Through sheer force of will, fueled by the indomitable human spirit, they began to reform the shattered peak. Rodriguez's strength became the foundation, Frost's empathy the binding force. David's intellect and Thompson's intuition guided the reformation, while Chen's leadership united their efforts into a singular purpose. Where the alien mountain had stood, a new peak formed, one born of human determination and the unbreakable bonds between them. As they placed their hands on the summit they had willed into existence, a blinding light engulfed them. When it faded, they found themselves back in the alien chamber, surrounded once again by the astonished observers. The Zar'konian commander approached, its mental voice filled with awe and respect. In all our years of testing species across the galaxy, we have never witnessed anything like this. You didn't just overcome the mountain, you reshaped it through the sheer force of your will and unity. Chen, supporting an exhausted Rodriguez, stood tall before the alien audience. "That's humanity for you," she said, her voice tired but proud. "We don't just face the impossible, we redefine it." As the implications of their success began to sink in, Chen looked at her team with immense pride. They had been pushed to their absolute limits and beyond, and had emerged stronger than ever. Each of them had showcased the very best of humanity's strength, empathy, intelligence, intuition, and an unbreakable spirit. They had proven, beyond any doubt, that humanity was not just ready to join the galactic community, they were essential to its future. Whatever challenges the universe held, humans would face them head-on, armed with their unique blend of determination, adaptability, and collective strength. As the alien observers buzzed with excitement and awe, Chen allowed herself a moment of reflection. Their journey was far from over, but they had opened a door to a future brighter than any of them could have imagined. Whatever came next, they would face it as they had faced every trial together, as the embodiment of the human spirit. As the team recovered from their ordeal on Mount Impossibility, Lieutenant Emma Frost noticed something odd about the alien observers. Her empathic abilities, heightened by the extreme experiences they'd endured, picked up on undercurrents of emotion that seemed out of place. "Staff Sergeant," Frost whispered, pulling Chen aside. "Something's not right. I'm sensing anticipation, almost excitement from the aliens, but it's tinged with something else. Fear, maybe? Or guilt?" Chen's eyes narrowed. They had come so far, overcome so much. Could there be yet another layer to these trials? "Keep monitoring them," she instructed. "See what else you can pick up." As the Zar'konian commander approached to congratulate them once more, Frost focused her empathic senses. Suddenly, her eyes widened in shock. "Wait," she called out, her voice cutting through the celebratory atmosphere. All eyes turned to Frost as she stepped forward, her gaze locked on the Zar'konian commander. "You're hiding something," she said, her voice steady but filled with tension. "These trials, they're not just about testing us or saving the universe. There's something more." The commander's multifaceted eyes flickered, its mental voice tinged with surprise. "Your perceptive abilities are truly remarkable, Lieutenant Frost. But I assure you—" "No more assurances," Chen interrupted, moving to stand beside Frost. "We've earned the truth, all of it." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Finally, the commander's shoulders slumped in what could only be described as resignation. "You are correct," it admitted. "There is more to these trials than we have revealed." As the commander spoke, the holographic displays around the chamber flickered to life, showing images of devastation on alien worlds. "Our civilization, along with many others in the galaxy, is dying," the commander explained. "A cosmic plague has been spreading, one that targets the very essence of sentient life." The team listened in shock as the commander detailed a galaxy-wide crisis. Species after species had fallen to this plague, their consciousness eroded until nothing remained but empty shells. "We discovered that humans possess a unique quality," the commander continued. "A resilience of spirit, a strength of will that seems to make you immune to the plague. We needed to be certain, to push you to your limits, before we could reveal the truth." Chen felt a mix of anger and understanding wash over her. "So all of this, these impossible trials, they were a test to see if we could withstand this plague?" The commander nodded. and to see if you could potentially cure it. Your ability to reshape reality, to overcome cosmic laws through sheer force of will, it may be the key to saving not just your species, but all sentient life in the galaxy. As the implications of this revelation sank in, Chen looked at her team. She saw the same mix of emotions on their faces: shock, anger at being manipulated, but also a growing resolve. Frost, her empathic abilities now fully focused on the aliens, spoke up. "They're telling the truth," she confirmed. "And there's more. They're afraid, not just of the plague, but of us, of what we might do with this knowledge." Chen understood immediately. Humanity, with its potential immunity and reality-shaping abilities, could easily dominate a galaxy weakened by this plague. The fear of trading one existential threat for another had led the aliens to construct these elaborate trials. "So, what now?" Rodriguez asked, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. "We just become the galaxy's doctors? Fight a cosmic plague we know nothing about?" David, his scientific mind already racing with possibilities, interjected. "It's not that simple. If this plague affects consciousness itself, we'd need to understand the fundamental nature of sentience, of reality itself." Thompson nodded, adding that, "and we'd have to do it without losing our own humanity in the process. That's been the key all along, hasn't it? Maintaining our core values even in the face of impossible challenges." Chen listened to her team, pride swelling in her chest. Even faced with this monumental revelation, they were already analyzing, adapting, looking for solutions. This, she realized, was why humanity had been chosen. Turning back to the Zar'konian commander, Chen's voice was filled with determination. "We understand the stakes now, but if we're going to do this, we do it our way. No more hidden agendas, no more manipulation. We face this threat together, as equals." The commander's mental voice carried a note of relief and newfound respect. "Agreed. But know that the final test still awaits. Now that you understand the true nature of the threat, you must prove that you can face it without losing yourselves." As the chamber began to reconfigure for the final trial, Chen huddled with her team. "All right, squad. Everything we've been through has led to this moment. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore, or even for the galaxy. We're fighting for the very nature of consciousness itself." Frost spoke up, her empathic senses providing crucial insight. "We need to approach this differently. It's not about brute force or even individual brilliance. It's about harmony with each other, with the universe itself." David nodded enthusiastically. "Of course, if this plague affects the essence of consciousness, then our defense against it must come from the deepest core of who we are." "Our humanity," Thompson added, his intuitive understanding clicking into place. "That's what's been protecting us all along. Not just our physical resilience, but our capacity for empathy, for connection, for hope in the face of impossible odds." Rodriguez grinned, cracking his knuckles. "So we hit this plague with the power of human spirit? I can get behind that." Chen felt a surge of pride and determination. Her team had taken this earth-shattering revelation and turned it into motivation, a challenge to be overcome. This, she realized, was the true strength of humanity, the ability to face the unknown with courage, adaptability, and an unwavering sense of who they were. "All right, team," she said, her voice filled with resolve. "Whatever this final test throws at us, remember who we are and what we stand for. We're not just fighting to survive. We're fighting to show the galaxy what humanity truly means." As the chamber completed its transformation, revealing a swirling vortex of energy that seemed to lead into the heart of consciousness itself, Chen took a deep breath. They were about to face their greatest challenge yet, armed with nothing but their wits, their will, and their unbreakable human spirit. "Together," she said, reaching out to her team. As one, they stepped into the vortex, ready to face whatever lay ahead, and to prove, once and for all, that humanity's place in the cosmos was not just deserved, but essential. The final test had begun. As Chen and her squad entered the swirling vortex, they found themselves in a vast, ethereal space that seemed to exist between realities. Streams of consciousness flowed around them, representing the collective minds of countless alien species. The final test had begun, but it was unlike anything they had faced before. They weren't just observers or participants. They were now at the center of a galactic drama that was unfolding in real time. Holographic projections materialized around them, showing various alien civilizations watching their progress. The squad realized that their actions here were being broadcast across the galaxy, their performance a focal point for species teetering on the brink of extinction. "Look," Frost gasped, her empathic abilities overwhelmed by the sheer volume of emotions flowing through this space. They're divided. Some see us as saviors, others as a threat." Chen nodded grimly. She could see it too. The alien civilizations were splitting into factions before their eyes. Some, desperate for a cure to the plague, were ready to embrace humanity with open arms. Others, fearful of human potential, advocated for immediate containment or worse. As the squad moved deeper into this realm of pure consciousness, they began to encounter manifestations of the plague. Dark, corrupting tendrils that sought to erode the very essence of sentience. "Stay focused," Chen ordered, seeing the strain on her team's faces. "Remember who we are, what we stand for. Our humanity is our shield." They pressed on, using their unique abilities to combat the plague. David's analytical mind identified patterns in the corruption, allowing them to predict its spread. Thompson's intuition guided them through the shifting landscape of consciousness. Rodriguez's indomitable will became a rallying point for weakened alien minds, while Frost's empathy allowed her to soothe and stabilize affected psyches. Chen coordinated their efforts, her leadership transforming the squad into a beacon of hope in this sea of despair. As they worked, they could sense the watching aliens' reactions. Amazement, hope, fear, and suspicion all mingled in a volatile cocktail of emotions. Suddenly, a new presence made itself known. A coalition of elder races, long thought to have ascended beyond physical form, manifested in the conscious realm. "Humans," their collective voice resonated. "Your actions here have sparked a fire that cannot be extinguished. The galaxy stands at a crossroads, and you are the fulcrum upon which its fate balances." Chen stepped forward, her voice steady despite the enormous pressure. "We didn't ask for this role, but we're here now. We'll do whatever it takes to save sentient life, to cure this plague." The elder beings seemed to confer among themselves. "Noble words, but the reality is far more complex. Your potential, your immunity to the plague, your ability to reshape reality itself, these gifts make you as much a threat as a savior in the eyes of many." As if to emphasize their point, the holographic projections erupted into chaos. Alien species argued vehemently, their debates growing heated. Some called for an alliance with humanity, seeing it as their last hope. Others demanded quarantine, fearful of human influence spreading unchecked through the galaxy. "You see the dilemma," the elder beings continued. "Your very existence has become a catalyst for change, destabilizing the political structure of the galaxy. Some would rather face extinction than risk a future dominated by humanity." Chen felt the weight of this responsibility settling on her shoulders. They had come here to prove humanity's worth, to earn their place among the stars. But now they found themselves at the center of a galactic political firestorm. "So what would you have us do?" Chen asked, her frustration evident. "Turn back? Pretend we never discovered our potential?" The elder being's response was tinged with what might have been approval. "No, you must choose. Your actions here will shape the future of the galaxy. Will you use your gifts to dominate, to reshape the cosmos in your image? Or will you find a way to coexist, to uplift other species without overshadowing them?" Chen turned to her team, seeing the same determination in their eyes that she felt. They had come too far to back down now. "We choose cooperation," Chen declared, her voice ringing out across the conscious realm. "Humanity's strength isn't in domination, but in adaptation, in finding common ground. We don't want to rule the galaxy, we want to be part of it." As she spoke, Chen could feel the tide of alien opinion beginning to shift. Her words, backed by the squad's unwavering resolve, were having an impact. Frost stepped forward. Her empathic abilities stretched to their limit as she projected their sincerity to the watching species. "We've faced our own trials, our own fears," she added. "We understand your concerns. But together, we can be stronger than this plague, stronger than our fears of each other." David chimed in, his scientific mind offering practical solutions. "We can share our knowledge, work together to understand the plague and develop a cure. Our immunity doesn't have to be a threat, it can be the foundation for a galactic alliance." Thompson and Rodriguez stood tall beside them, their presence a testament to human resilience and adaptability. As the squad's message spread, the political landscape of the galaxy began to shift. Old alliances crumbled, and new ones formed. Species that had been bitter enemies found common ground in the face of this new paradigm. The elder beings observed silently, their ancient consciousness evaluating humanity's potential impact on the cosmic order. Finally, they spoke again. "You have chosen a difficult path, humans. Cooperation and coexistence require more strength than domination. But in doing so, you may have laid the groundwork for a new era of galactic civilization." Chen felt a glimmer of hope. They had passed the final test, not through force or cunning, but by staying true to the best of human values. As the conscious realm began to fade around them, Chen saw the future unfolding. It would not be easy, there would be challenges, conflicts, and setbacks. But humanity had proven itself not just worthy of joining the galactic community, but capable of leading it into a new age of cooperation and mutual understanding. The squad found themselves back in the physical chamber, surrounded by alien observers whose attitudes had visibly shifted. Where there had been suspicion and fear, now there was cautious optimism and respect. Chen looked at her team, battered but unbowed. They had done more than save the galaxy from a plague. They had reshaped its political landscape, offering hope where there had been only despair. As representatives from various alien factions approached, ready to begin negotiations for this new galactic order, Chen allowed herself a small smile. The real work was just beginning, but humanity was ready. They had proven themselves on the cosmic stage, not as conquerors, but as partners, and in doing so, they had opened the door to a future brighter than any of them could have imagined. As the implications of their success began to sink in, the chamber suddenly erupted in chaos. Alarms blared, and the alien observers scattered in panic. The Zar'konian commander's voice cut through the din, its mental projection tinged with urgency. "The plague," it shouted. "It's mutating, adapting to your presence. The psychic barriers are failing." Chen and her squad watched in horror as dark, oily tendrils of the cosmic plague began to seep into the chamber. The very air seemed to thicken, carrying with it a sense of despair and corruption. "It's drawn to us," Frost gasped, her empathic abilities overwhelmed by the malevolent presence. "Our resistance? It's like a beacon to it." David's mind raced, analyzing the situation. "The plague must have evolved in response to our immunity. It's trying to overcome our defenses." As the team huddled together, forming a protective circle, Chen saw the terror in the eyes of the alien observers. Species that had been arguing moments ago now clung to each other in fear, their political differences forgotten in the face of extinction. "We need to contain it," Chen ordered, her tactical mind already formulating plans. "If it spreads beyond this chamber, the entire station could be lost." Thompson's intuition kicked in. "The vortex," he said, pointing to the swirling portal they had emerged from. "If we can drive it back in there, maybe we can isolate it." The squad sprang into action, using their combined abilities to push back against the encroaching plague. Frost projected waves of positive emotion, creating a buffer zone. David and Thompson worked in tandem, predicting the plague's movements and guiding their defense. But it wasn't enough. The plague was too strong, too adaptable. It lashed out with tentacles of pure corruption, seeking to infect and consume everything in its path. That's when Rodriguez made his move. "I've got this," he said, his voice calm but filled with resolve. Before anyone could stop him, Rodriguez charged forward, directly into the heart of the plague's manifestation. His body began to glow with an inner light. The strength that had carried them through so many trials now focused into a single, desperate act. "Rodriguez, no!" Chen shouted, realizing his intention too late. As the squad watched in horror and awe, Rodriguez grappled with the plague's essence. His humanity, the very thing that had made them immune, now became a weapon against the cosmic corruption. "You want to fight?" Rodriguez growled, his voice strained but defiant. "Come and get it. But you're not touching them. Not today, not ever." The plague responded, wrapping itself around Rodriguez in a terrifying embrace, but instead of corrupting him, it found itself being transformed. Rodriguez's indomitable will, his unwavering spirit, began to purify the plague's essence. "Now," he shouted, his voice echoing with power. "Push it back. I've got it weakened." The team didn't hesitate. With a coordinated effort, they drove the plague, along with Rodriguez, towards the vortex. Frost poured every ounce of positive emotion she could muster into Rodriguez, strengthening his resolve. David and Thompson calculated the exact moment to act, their combined intellect and intuition guiding the team's efforts. Chen, her heart breaking but her will unshakable, coordinated the final push. "Together," she cried. "For Rodriguez, for Earth, for the galaxy." With a final, monumental effort, they forced the plague and Rodriguez through the vortex. There was a blinding flash of light, a psychic shockwave that knocked everyone off their feet, and then silence. As the dust settled, Chen and her team stared at the now dormant vortex. Rodriguez was gone, but so was the plague. In its place was a sense of renewal, of purification. The alien observers slowly got to their feet, their eyes wide with disbelief and awe. The Zar'konian commander approached, its mental voice filled with a reverence Chen had never heard before. "What we have witnessed here," it said, "is beyond anything in our recorded history. Your soldier, Rodriguez, he has done more than sacrifice himself. He has fundamentally altered the nature of the plague itself." As the commander spoke, the holographic displays came to life, showing scenes from across the galaxy. The plague was receding, not just defeated but transformed. Where it touched, it now brought renewal and healing rather than corruption and despair. "He merged with it," David said, his voice filled with wonder. "Used his humanity to change its very essence." Frost nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I can feel it. The plague isn't gone, but it's different, beneficial now. Rodriguez's spirit, his goodness, it's spreading throughout the galaxy." Chen stood tall, her heart heavy with loss but swelling with pride. "That's Rodriguez for you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Always had to do things the hard way, make the biggest impact." As the implications of Rodriguez's sacrifice spread, the political landscape of the galaxy underwent a seismic shift. Species that had been at each other's throats now found themselves united in awe and gratitude. The human capacity for self-sacrifice, for transforming even the darkest forces into something positive, had changed everything. The elder beings reappeared, their ancient consciousness radiating approval. "In all our eons of existence," they intoned, "we have never witnessed such an act. Your Rodriguez has not only saved the galaxy, but has ushered in a new era of healing and cooperation." Chen looked at her remaining team members, seeing the same mix of grief and determination in their eyes. Rodriguez was gone, but his legacy would reshape the cosmos. As representatives from every major galactic power approached, ready to begin a new chapter in cosmic history, Chen squared her shoulders. Rodriguez's sacrifice had opened doors they had never imagined possible. Now it was up to them to walk through those doors, to build the future he had given his life to create. "For Rodriguez," she said softly, and her team nodded in agreement. Together, they stepped forward to meet their destiny, forever changed by the selfless act of one extraordinary human being. The aftermath of Rodriguez's sacrifice and the squad's triumph reverberated across the galaxy with unprecedented speed. Chen and her remaining team members found themselves at the center of a cosmic whirlwind of diplomatic activity, scientific inquiry, and cultural exchange. As they stood in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, surrounded by representatives from thousands of alien species, Chen couldn't help but feel a mix of pride, sorrow, and overwhelming responsibility. The Zar'konian Supreme Leader, a being of such importance that it had remained hidden until now, addressed the assembly. The actions of these humans have not only saved us from extinction, but have opened up new avenues of existence we had never dreamed possible. We stand at the dawn of a new era. As the Supreme Leader spoke, holographic displays showed scenes from across the galaxy. Planets once ravaged by the plague were now flourishing with new forms of life. The transformed essence of Rodriguez, merged with the cosmic force they had fought so hard against, was reshaping entire ecosystems. The reactions from various alien species were as diverse as the beings themselves. The Quillians, a race of energy beings, approached Chen with reverence. "We have existed for millions of years," their spokesperson communicated telepathically, "yet we have never encountered a species capable of such profound self-sacrifice. We wish to learn from you, to understand this humanity that could transform a universe." The Vexcar, a highly logical species that had long viewed emotions as a weakness, were visibly shaken. Their representative, a towering insectoid being, clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. "We may have been mistaken in our assessment of emotional capacity. This Rodriguez's actions defy our understanding of risk and reward. We request cultural exchange programs to better comprehend human decision-making processes." Not all reactions were positive, however. The Drath Imperium, a warlike species that had long sought galactic domination, viewed the humans with suspicion and fear. "This power is too great to be left unchecked," their ambassador growled. "How do we know humanity won't use this ability to reshape all of us in their image?" Chen stepped forward, her voice clear and resolute. "We understand your concerns," she said, addressing not just the Drath, but all those harboring doubts. "Humanity isn't perfect. We've made mistakes, fought wars, hurt each other and our planet. But we've also strived to be better, to learn from our errors, to reach for the stars not to conquer, but to understand." She paused, looking at each of her remaining team members. What Rodriguez did, he did out of love for his team, for Earth, and for the idea that all sentient life has value. "We don't want to reshape you in our image. We want to work alongside you, to learn from each other, and to face whatever challenges the universe has in store together." Her words seemed to resonate with the assembly. Even the Drath ambassador appeared thoughtful, if not entirely convinced. As the political discussions continued, David found himself surrounded by the galaxy's leading scientists. The Elorians, a species renowned for their advanced technology, were particularly interested in humanity's potential. "Your ability to interact with and manipulate quantum fields is unprecedented," an Elorian scientist marveled. "We propose a joint research initiative to explore the full implications of this capability." David's eyes lit up at the possibilities. "Imagine what we could discover together," he said, his mind racing with potential breakthroughs. "Our different perspectives, combined with this new understanding of reality itself, we could revolutionize everything from space travel to energy production." Meanwhile, Frost found her empathic abilities in high demand. Species that had long been at odds due to misunderstandings and cultural differences sought her out as a mediator. "Your capacity for emotional understanding transcends traditional boundaries," a representative from the Zhor Collective, a hive mind species, communicated. "We believe beings like you could be instrumental in fostering long-lasting peace across the galaxy." Thompson, his intuitive abilities now honed to an incredible degree, found himself approached by the enigmatic seers of Zalthar. These beings, known for their ability to perceive possible futures, saw in Thompson a kindred spirit. "Your species walks a knife's edge," one of the seers whispered, its multifaceted eyes swirling with visions. "Great potential for creation and destruction lies before you. We would guide you, if you would allow it, to navigate the currents of time and possibility." As the assembly continued, new opportunities for humanity seemed to arise with each passing moment. Offers of technological exchange, proposals for joint colonization efforts, and invitations to join galactic research initiatives poured in. The Galactic Council, recognizing the unique position humanity now held, proposed the creation of a new diplomatic role. "We would have you serve as bridges," the council elder explained, "not just between Earth and the galactic community, but between all species. Your unique blend of qualities, adaptability, empathy, scientific curiosity, and indomitable spirit makes you ideally suited to help usher in this new age of cooperation." Chen listened to all of this with a mix of excitement and caution. The opportunities before them were beyond anything they could have imagined, but she was acutely aware of the responsibilities they now faced. As the assembly began to wind down, Chen gathered her team. "We've opened a door here," she said, her voice low but intense. "One that can never be closed. The choices we make now will shape not just humanity's future, but the future of all sentient life in the galaxy." David nodded, his eyes bright with the possibilities of new scientific frontiers. Frost smiled softly, already considering the diplomatic challenges ahead. Thompson stood quietly, his intuition telling him that their greatest trials still lay ahead. Chen looked at each of them, feeling Rodriguez's absence keenly, but also sensing his enduring influence. "Whatever comes next," she said, "we face it as we always have together, with open minds and unwavering spirit. For Earth, for Rodriguez, and for the future we now have a hand in shaping." As they turned to face the assembled galactic community, Chen allowed herself a moment of reflection. They had come seeking to prove humanity's worth, and in doing so, had changed the very fabric of cosmic society. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with both incredible opportunities and daunting challenges. But as Chen looked at her team, at the diverse array of alien beings now looking to humanity with hope and curiosity, she felt a surge of determination. Whatever the cosmic repercussions of their actions, whatever unexpected twist lay ahead, they would face them head-on. The next chapter of galactic history was about to be written, and humanity would play a central role in shaping it. In the weeks following the Galactic Assembly, Chen and her squad found themselves thrust into roles they could never have imagined. As the dust settled and the initial frenzy of diplomatic activity calmed, each member of the team began to grapple with the personal implications of their cosmic triumph. Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen, now bearing the weighty title of Galactic Liaison, sat alone in her quarters aboard the massive space station that had become humanity's temporary home among the stars. The room, luxurious by Earth standards, felt hollow without her complete team. Chen stared at Rodriguez's combat patch, which she kept on her desk as a constant reminder. The ache of his loss was a physical presence, a void that no amount of galactic accolades could fill. She had led her team to save the universe, but at what cost? A chime at her door interrupted her brooding. "Enter," she called, straightening her posture and donning the mantle of leadership that now felt permanently affixed to her shoulders. David walked in, his eyes bright with excitement but ringed with exhaustion. "Staff Sergeant," he began, then caught himself. "Sorry, I mean Liaison Chen. I still can't get used to these new titles." Chen smiled wryly. "Neither can I, David. What's on your mind?" David launched into an enthusiastic explanation of his latest work with the Elorian scientists. His brilliance, already remarkable by human standards, had been amplified by their trials. He now operated on a level that put him on par with the greatest minds in the galaxy. But as he spoke, Chen noticed the slight tremor in his hands, the way his words sometimes tumbled over each other in his rush to express the vast concepts swirling in his mind. "David," she interrupted gently, "when was the last time you slept?" He blinked, genuinely confused. "Slept? I'm not sure. There's just so much to learn, to discover. Every moment feels crucial." Chen recognized the signs. David's enhanced intellect was both a gift and a burden. He was pushing himself to the brink, driven by an insatiable thirst for knowledge and a deep-seated need to prove that Rodriguez's sacrifice hadn't been in vain. "You need rest," Chen said firmly. "That's an order. Your mind is our most valuable asset, but it needs care." David nodded reluctantly, the weariness finally showing on his face. As he turned to leave, he paused. "Do you think Rodriguez would be proud of what we're accomplishing?" Chen felt her throat tighten. "Every day, David. Every single day." After David left, Chen decided to check on the rest of her team. She found Frost in the station's arboretum, a vast garden filled with plant species from across the galaxy. The lieutenant sat cross-legged on the ground, her eyes closed in deep meditation. As Chen approached, Frost opened her eyes, offering a tired smile. "Liaison Chen," she greeted. "I was just trying to center myself." Chen sat beside her, noting the strain around Frost's eyes. "How are you holding up, Emma?" Frost sighed deeply. "It's overwhelming. My empathic abilities have expanded beyond anything I thought possible. I can sense the emotions of entire species, feel the ebb and flow of galactic politics. It's beautiful, but it's also a burden," Chen finished for her. Frost nodded. "I feel like I'm losing myself sometimes, drowning in a sea of alien thoughts and feelings, and the expectations. Everyone looks to me to solve centuries-old conflicts, to bridge impossible divides." Chen placed a comforting hand on Frost's shoulder. "Remember, you're human first, Emma. Your empathy is a gift, but it doesn't define you entirely." Frost leaned into the touch, grateful for the grounding presence of her leader. "I just hope I can live up to what Rodriguez did, make his sacrifice mean something." Chen felt that familiar pang of loss, but pushed through it. "We honor him by moving forward, by using our gifts wisely, but we also honor him by remembering our humanity." Later, Chen found Thompson in the station's observation deck, his gaze fixed on the swirling galaxies beyond. As she approached, she noticed an almost ethereal quality to him, as if he wasn't fully present in the physical world. "Thompson," she called softly, "how are you adapting?" He turned to her, his eyes focusing with visible effort. "Liaison Chen," he greeted, his voice distant. I'm not sure how to describe it. Since our trials, since Rodriguez, it's like I can see the threads of possibility stretching out before us. So many potential futures, branching and intertwining." Chen felt a chill run down her spine. Thompson's intuitive abilities had clearly evolved far beyond their original scope. "That sounds like quite a burden to bear," she said carefully. Thompson nodded, a hint of his old self showing through. "It's beautiful and terrifying all at once. I see futures where humanity rises to incredible heights, and others where we fall into darkness. And I'm afraid that one wrong choice could lead us down the wrong path." Chen stepped closer, making sure Thompson met her gaze. "We make those choices together, Thompson. Your insight is invaluable, but you're not alone in this." As she left Thompson to his contemplation, Chen couldn't help but reflect on the profound changes her team had undergone. They had saved the galaxy, perhaps the entire universe, but the price had been high. Rodriguez's sacrifice loomed large, a constant reminder of what they had lost. Each of them now bore gifts that set them apart, not just from other humans, but from most sentient beings in the galaxy. David's intellect, Frost's empathy, Thompson's intuition, all had been amplified to extraordinary levels. But with those gifts came new burdens, new responsibilities that threatened to overwhelm their humanity. And Chen herself, she felt the weight of leadership more keenly than ever. Every decision she made now had cosmic implications. The fate of Earth, of humanity's place in the galactic community, rested on her shoulders. As she returned to her quarters, Chen allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. She missed the simplicity of their old lives, the camaraderie of being just another squad of Marines. But those days were gone, transformed by their trials and triumphs among the stars. Looking out at the vast expanse of space, Chen steeled herself for the challenges ahead. They were heroes to the galaxy, but they were also still human, flawed, struggling, but undeniably resilient. Whatever the future held, they would face it together, carrying the memory of Rodriguez and the hopes of Earth with them. The price of their triumph had been high, but as Chen looked at the transformed galaxy around them, she knew it had been worth it. Now, they had to live up to the legacy they had created, to be the heroes the galaxy needed, while remembering the humans they still were at heart. As the days turned into weeks, Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen found herself at the center of an increasingly complex web of galactic politics. The novelty of humanity's arrival on the cosmic stage was wearing off, replaced by the hard realities of interstellar diplomacy and the weight of expectations from both alien species and her own people back on Earth. Chen sat in her office, surrounded by holographic displays showing the latest reports from across the galaxy. The transformed plague, now a force for renewal thanks to Rodriguez's sacrifice, was reshaping entire ecosystems. Some species welcomed the change, while others feared the loss of their traditional ways of life. Earth itself was grappling with the implications of its new role in the galactic community, with governments and corporations all vying for a piece of the cosmic pie. A priority message flashed on her main screen. It was from the newly formed Earth Unified Council, a hastily assembled body meant to represent humanity's interest in galactic affairs. They were demanding more aggressive expansion, pushing for humanity to claim a larger territory and secure advanced technologies from other species. Chen frowned, feeling the pressure from all sides. The Galactic Council was urging caution, warning that too rapid an expansion could destabilize the delicate balance of power. Meanwhile, some of the more militant species, like the Drath Imperium, were watching humanity's every move with suspicion, ready to cry foul at the slightest provocation. As she pondered her response, Chen's team filed into her office for their daily briefing. She looked at each of them, noting the toll their new roles were taking. David's eyes were bright with the excitement of new discoveries, but his shoulders sagged with exhaustion. Frost's empathic abilities had made her an invaluable mediator, but the constant emotional bombardment was clearly wearing on her. Thompson stood quietly in the corner, his gaze distant, as if seeing possibilities invisible to the rest. "All right, team," Chen began. "We need to make a decision. Earth is pushing for rapid expansion and technology acquisition. The Galactic Council wants us to slow down, and about a dozen species are ready to cry foul no matter what we do." David spoke up first, his words tumbling out in a rush of enthusiasm. "The scientific opportunities are incredible, Staff Sergeant. If we could just get access to some of the Elorian quantum labs, or the Jor Collective's psychic amplifiers." Frost cut in, her voice gentle but firm. "But at what cost, David? I can feel the anxiety rippling through the galactic community. Many species are still coming to terms with our existence. Pushing too hard, too fast could undo everything we've accomplished." Thompson's quiet voice drew everyone's attention. "I see branches," he said, his eyes focusing on something beyond the room. "Paths of possibility. In some, we rise to unimaginable heights. In others—" He trailed off, a shadow crossing his face. Chen absorbed their input, her tactical mind weighing the options. She thought of Rodriguez, of his selfless act that had changed the course of galactic history. What would he do in this situation? After a long moment, Chen stood, her decision made. "We're going to do something unprecedented," she announced. "We're going to voluntarily limit our expansion and technology acquisition." Her team looked at her in surprise. Chen continued, her voice gaining strength as she outlined her vision. "Humanity's strength isn't in our territory or our technology. It's in our adaptability, our creativity, our ability to bring people together. We're going to focus on that." She turned to David. "Instead of acquiring advanced tech, we're going to focus on collaborative research. We'll work alongside other species, combining our unique perspective with their knowledge. We'll advance together, rather than trying to leapfrog ahead." To Frost, she said, "We'll use your empathic abilities not just for mediation, but to help design cultural exchange programs. Let's focus on understanding and being understood." Finally, to Thompson, "Your insight into possible futures will be crucial. We'll need to navigate carefully, choosing paths that benefit not just humanity, but the galaxy as a whole." Chen activated her comm link, broadcasting her next words to the Earth Unified Council and the Galactic Council simultaneously. Humanity formally announces its intention to pursue a policy of collaborative advancement and cultural integration. We will limit our territorial expansion to jointly developed colonies and focus our efforts on fostering understanding between species. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. We came to the stars not to conquer, but to connect. We believe that by working together, by combining our strengths and learning from each other, we can face whatever challenges the universe has in store. As Chen spoke, she could see the impact of her decision rippling out across the galactic political landscape. The more aggressive species, like the Drath, seemed taken aback, their plans for opposing human expansion now obsolete. The Galactic Council's representatives showed clear approval, while the Earth Unified Council sputtered in confusion and frustration. But it was the reaction of the younger, less established species that truly caught Chen's attention. Representatives from dozens of worlds, many of whom had been wary of humanity's sudden rise, now looked at them with newfound respect and curiosity. As the implications of her announcement spread, Chen turned back to her team. "This won't be easy," she said, her voice low but intense. "We're charting a course between worlds, trying to bridge gaps that have existed for millennia. But I believe this is how we truly honor Rodriguez's sacrifice, not by dominating, but by uniting." David nodded slowly, his brilliant mind already spinning with ideas for joint research initiatives. Frost smiled, relief evident in her posture as she sensed the positive shift in galactic emotions. Thompson's eyes cleared, focusing on Chen with a newfound clarity. "It's a good path," Thompson said simply. "Difficult, but bright." As her team left to begin implementing her new directives, Chen allowed herself a moment of reflection. She knew her decision would be controversial back on Earth, that many would see it as surrendering humanity's advantage. But in her heart, she knew it was the right choice. They had come to the stars to prove humanity's worth, and in doing so, had been given an opportunity to shape the future of the galaxy. Chen was determined to ensure that future was one of cooperation, understanding, and shared growth. As she looked out at the star-filled expanse beyond her window, Chen felt a sense of purpose stronger than any she'd experienced before. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges they couldn't yet imagine. But for the first time since Rodriguez's sacrifice, she felt true hope for the future, not just of humanity, but of all sentient life in the cosmos. The next chapter of galactic history was about to be written, and humanity would help write it not with force or dominance, but with open hands and open hearts. The day of departure arrived sooner than any of them expected. After months of intense diplomatic work, scientific breakthroughs, and cultural exchanges, Chen and her squad were finally heading back to Earth. Their mission to represent humanity among the stars was far from over, but this return trip was crucial. They needed to report in person, to help Earth's leaders and population understand the true scope of their new reality. As they boarded the sleek, alien-human hybrid ship that would take them home, each member of the squad felt the weight of their experiences settling upon them. They were no longer just soldiers or even explorers. They had become bridges between worlds, their very existence a symbol of humanity's new place in the cosmos. Chen paused at the ship's entrance, looking back at the vast space station that had been their home for these transformative months. Alien beings of all shapes and sizes moved about their business, the once strange sights now comfortingly familiar. She felt a pang of something she couldn't quite name, not quite homesickness, but a sense that a part of her would always belong out here among the stars. "Having second thoughts, Liaison Chen?" Frost asked softly, coming to stand beside her. Chen shook her head, offering a small smile. "Not second thoughts, just realizing how much has changed, how much we've changed." As they made their way to the bridge, Chen observed her team. David was engrossed in a holographic display, likely reviewing the massive amounts of data they were bringing back to Earth. Thompson stood by a viewport, his gaze distant, perhaps seeing the branching paths of their journey home. Frost moved among them, a calming presence, her empathic abilities soothing the complex emotions swirling through the group. Once they were underway, Chen called her team together for one last meeting before they reached Earth. As they gathered in the ship's conference room, the vastness of space visible through the panoramic windows, she felt a surge of pride and affection for these incredible individuals. "Before we get back," Chen began, her voice steady but tinged with emotion, "I wanted to take a moment to reflect on everything we've been through, on what it means for us and for humanity." David spoke up first, his eyes bright with the excitement of discovery but shadowed with the burden of knowledge. "We're bringing back scientific advancements that will revolutionize every field: medicine, energy, space travel. But—" he paused, struggling to find the words. "But we're also bringing back questions that humanity might not be ready to answer," Frost finished for him, her empathic abilities allowing her to articulate the unspoken concerns. Chen nodded, encouraging them to continue. Thompson's quiet voice drew their attention. "I see so many paths ahead," he said, his gaze moving between his teammates and the stars beyond. "Some filled with wonder, others with conflict. We're returning as heroes, but also as harbingers of change that will reshape our entire civilization." "Exactly," Chen agreed. "We've seen wonders out here that most humans can't even imagine. We've made allies and potential enemies on a cosmic scale. Our actions, our very existence, have altered the course of galactic history." She paused, letting the magnitude of their situation sink in. "But we're still human, and that's perhaps the most bittersweet realization of all." Frost tilted her head, curiosity in her eyes. "What do you mean, Sarah?" Chen smiled softly at the use of her first name. Out here, among the stars, the old military formalities had gradually fallen away. "I mean that for all we've accomplished, for all we've become, we're still tied to Earth. To our history, our flaws, our limitless potential, and our capacity for self-destruction." Understanding dawned on their faces as Chen continued. "We're going back to a world that's still grappling with age-old conflicts, with inequality, with environmental challenges. And now we have to help them understand that those problems are no longer just Earth's problems, they're humanity's audition for a role on the galactic stage." David nodded slowly. "We've seen species that have achieved incredible technological and social harmony. But we've also seen the price of that progress. Some have lost their spark, their drive to explore and grow. Our challenge," Frost added, her voice thoughtful, "will be to help humanity reach for the stars without losing what makes us uniquely human. Our adaptability, our creativity, our capacity for both great compassion and great conflict." Thompson's eyes focused on the present moment, a rare occurrence these days. "We're returning as changed beings to a world that hasn't experienced what we have. The disconnect, it will be challenging." Chen felt a swell of emotion as she looked at her team. They had faced impossible odds, saved the galaxy, and opened up a new chapter in human history. But in many ways, the hardest part of their journey was just beginning. "We're going to face skepticism, fear, and greed when we return," Chen said, her voice firm but compassionate. "There will be those who want to use our new knowledge and connections for personal gain or military advantage. Others will deny the reality of what's out there, clinging to old worldviews." She stood, her posture straight but not rigid, embodying the balance they would need to strike. "Our job, our duty, is to be the bridge between Earth and the galaxy, between our past and our potential future. We need to help humanity understand that we're part of something greater now, but that doesn't mean losing who we are." As her words sank in, Chen saw the mix of determination and apprehension on her team's faces. They were returning as heroes, but also as people forever changed by their experiences. The challenge of reintegrating into Earth society, of guiding humanity towards its new destiny without losing its soul, was daunting. "Rodriguez saw the best in humanity," Chen said softly, invoking the memory of their fallen comrade. "He sacrificed everything because he believed we were worthy of a place among the stars. Now it's up to us to prove him right." As Earth appeared in the viewport, a beautiful blue marble suspended in the vastness of space, the squad felt a complex mix of emotions: joy at returning home, anxiety about the challenges ahead, and a bittersweet understanding that they would forever stand apart, not quite fully human anymore, but not alien either. They were the vanguard of a new era, the first true citizens of a galactic community. As they prepared for re-entry, each member of the squad silently renewed their commitment to guiding humanity towards a future among the stars, a future that honored both their cosmic potential and their earthly roots. The ship began its descent, carrying with it the hopes, dreams, and challenges of a species on the brink of a new cosmic age. The next chapter of human history was about to begin, and Chen and her squad were ready to help write it, one small step at a time. Epilogue: A New Horizon. 10 years had passed since Staff Sergeant Sarah Chen and her squad returned to Earth, forever changing the course of human history. The planet they came back to was almost unrecognizable now, transformed by the influx of alien knowledge, technology, and culture. On a crisp autumn morning, Chen stood at the podium of the newly established Galactic Academy in what was once upstate New York. Before her stretched a sea of eager faces, human and alien, alike, all cadets in the first ever joint species peacekeeping force. "A decade ago," Chen began, her voice carrying easily across the amphitheater, "we stood on the brink of a new era. Today, we stand at the forefront of galactic cooperation." As she spoke, Chen couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them here. The years following their return had been tumultuous. Earth's governments had initially clamored for military advantages and territorial expansion. It had taken all of Chen and her squad's influence, along with the support of their alien allies, to guide humanity towards a more collaborative path. David, now Director of Interspecies Scientific Cooperation, had been instrumental in establishing joint research initiatives that had revolutionized fields from medicine to space travel. His work had not only advanced human knowledge, but had also fostered unprecedented cooperation between species that had once been bitter rivals. Frost, with her enhanced empathic abilities, had become a key figure in galactic diplomacy. Her unique talent for understanding and mediating between different species had prevented numerous conflicts and laid the groundwork for the very academy Chen now addressed. Thompson's intuitive grasp of potential futures had proven invaluable in navigating the complex web of interstellar politics. Though the strain of his abilities often left him reclusive, his insights continued to shape humanity's long-term strategies in the galactic community. And Rodriguez, his sacrifice had become legend, not just on Earth, but across the galaxy. The transformed plague, now known as the Rodriguez Field, continued to reshape ecosystems and heal worlds long thought dead. He had become a symbol of humanity's potential for selflessness and positive change. Chen returned her focus to the present, to the eager cadets before her. "You represent the next chapter in our cosmic journey," she continued. "The challenges you'll face will be different from those we encountered, but no less daunting." As if to emphasize her point, a holographic display activated behind her, showing scenes from across the galaxy. A massive refugee crisis as a nearby star went supernova, displacing billions. Tensions rising between organic species and a newly emerged AI collective. Fringe groups on Earth still resistant to alien influence, clashing with the more integrated majority. "Humanity's role has evolved," Chen explained. "We're no longer fighting to prove our worth or defend our place among the stars. Now, we serve as mediators, peacekeepers, and innovators in a vast and complex galactic society." She gestured to the diverse group of cadets. Humans sat alongside towering Zar'konians, ethereal Quillians, and dozens of other species. "Each of you brings unique strengths and perspectives. Together, you'll face challenges we can't even imagine." As Chen spoke, she noticed a young cadet in the front row, a human girl with a familiar determined glint in her eye. The name on her uniform read Rodriguez, and Chen felt a surge of emotion. Maria Rodriguez, the daughter of their fallen comrade, was among this new generation of peacekeepers. "You'll be tasked with maintaining the delicate balance between species," Chen continued. "You'll explore the farthest reaches of the galaxy, encounter new life forms, and face moral dilemmas that will test your very conception of right and wrong." The holographic display shifted, showing the edge of the known galaxy, a swirling mass of unknown possibilities and potential threats. We've learned that the universe is far vaster and more complex than we ever imagined. There are forces out there beyond our comprehension, civilizations older than our entire galaxy. Chen's voice took on a note of caution. And not all of them are friendly. You'll be the first line of defense against threats that could unravel the peace we've worked so hard to build. But then her tone softened, filled with hope and pride. But you'll also be ambassadors of everything humanity has become. Our adaptability, our creativity, our capacity for growth and change, these are the qualities that have made us an integral part of the galactic community. As Chen concluded her speech, she felt a profound sense of passing the torch. Her squad had opened the door to the stars, had shown the galaxy humanity's potential. Now, it was up to this new generation to carry that legacy forward. The cadets rose, offering thunderous applause. As they filed out to begin their training, Chen caught sight of Maria Rodriguez again. The young cadet paused, meeting Chen's gaze with a mix of determination and question. Chen nodded slightly, a silent acknowledgement of the legacy Maria carried and the challenges she would face. In that moment, she saw not just Rodriguez's daughter, but the future of humanity among the stars. As the amphitheater emptied, Chen found herself alone, looking up at the holographic display of the galaxy. So much had changed, yet the sense of wonder she had felt on that first mission remained. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as partners in a grand cosmic dance. The trials ahead were daunting, the unknown vast and sometimes terrifying. But Chen felt a surge of hope as she thought of the cadets, of young Maria Rodriguez, and of all they represented. The next chapter of their cosmic journey was about to begin. New horizons awaited, new challenges loomed. But humanity, tempered by its trials and strengthened by its connections, was ready to face whatever the universe had in store. As Chen left the amphitheater, stepping out into the crisp autumn air, she looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, she knew, Rodriguez was watching, and she hoped that he was proud of what his sacrifice had helped create a humanity reaching for the stars, not with clenched fists, but with open hands and open hearts. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning.